Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiaget. This is the morning drift. You're just in time for a look at the state of the nation. We're going to look at exactly where we are as we chat this 27th day of February 2024. You can join us online again at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. This morning we asked the question, and it is a strong question that we posed to Kenyans this morning. Is it a case of self-importance and an audit of what majority of Kenyans are calling the president's lies this morning? That's what we're going to look at. I'll be introducing the guest. We're going to join us shortly for that conversation. For now, again, the hashtag is the morning drift. You can begin talking to us at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Let's take a look at exactly what it is that you're waking up to this morning in your newspapers. All right, let's take a look at the Daily Nation this morning. It's talking about budgeted graft scandal with the country already living beyond its means. The watchdog reports have continued to lay bare wanton wastage of and a brazen looting. Now, over the years, as unscrupulous officials collude to inflate national and county budgets with monies earmarked to be stolen, and breaching a few elites and burdening a majority of Kenyans with the punitive taxes. As we're looking at this morning, and if you look at the highlights, 35 billion already paid to non-existent staffers in counties between 2013 and 2032, 5.7 billion shillings lost annually to ghost workers by the national government, 1.4 billion amount paid in commitment fee on undrawn government loans. There's also 1.5 billion amount which salaries of state officers paid through the consolidated fund services were inflated. Just a couple of them that would essentially show the wastage in the government. There's also a story here on how state has now moved to address woes of students applying for courses. That's on the back page. Tycoon Jaffa's farm loses 24-year port grain handling monopoly. That is on page 27. And there's a story here of succession on how Raila allies now conditions for Kalonzo. Talking about how for some politicians allied to opposition chief Raila Odinga, they've issued wiper boss Kalonzo Musyoka with fresh demands should he wish to earn the support for his 2027 presidential bid. There's a story here as shift deductions now pushed to July. Kenyans can breathe a sigh of relief after Health CS Susan Nyakumenja announced a deferral in the commencement of contributions to the Social Health Authority. We're going to read that story on page 2. Museveni hosts Ruto and Raila. Story here, how Uganda's Yoweri Museveni with his Kenyan counterpart William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga were hosted yesterday at his Kisozi rural home. They discussed issues that affect the two countries, including energy and petroleum, as well as Mr. Odinga's bid for the African Union Commission chairmanship. I'm going to bring that story on, it's actually on page 2 as well of the Daily Nation this morning. That's it. On the back page, same story. Liverpool coach Klopp now savors most special trophy of my career after victory over Chelsea in Carabao Cup final at Wembley. That story has been covered at the back page of the Daily Nation. I do not know whether it's a special trophy because for those who know, every time Arsenal or Man United win it, the talk is about how that is just a cup of tea. The real trophy is the rest of them, but not a Carabao Cup, but not according to Klopp. Let's cross over to the Standard this morning, where the bigger story here is on the drugs disaster. Now, data from the government reveals the war against drug and alcohol abuse is far from over. The risk of youth getting trapped in addictions is more real than many have imagined. From the figures, Deputy President ought to take fight to the coast and Nairobi, not just his central Kenya backyard. That's a story that has been covered on page 2 and 3 of the Standard this morning. And you can see the numbers right there on the front page. Hustlers now raise concerns over new house scheme is a story that has been covered on page 4. The non-salaried workers wonder what tool will be used to determine how much they need to contribute to the scheme. Story has been covered on page 4 of the Daily Nation. Amadi wins round 1 in a case against gold dealers. Page on story on page 7. Wash post tax sparks anxiety. Story on page 19. And dividends put pressure on shilling. Story on page 26. And lessons learned from Kenya Magical Open. Story on 38. Now, while real estate bill is causing jitters as well, while Senator Alan Jasang says if enacted, the bill will keep fraudsters away from the industry, Land Cabinet Secretary now says it wants to devolve housing function to counties through the back door and should be opposed. Story on page 8. Story here on when teammates turn against each other on the battlefields, you know. It's a good story, by the way. When you look at it, it's covered by BBC that essentially showcases all the stories, all the players that have turned against each other. And I don't know why Arsenal features twice in this Victoria. The latest one being Ben White and Alexandra Zinchenko. There is also Adebayo and Nicholas Bentner as Arsenal. I mean, the key figures, isn't it? And the latest one is actually this for Ben White and Zinchenko. Let's cross over to the Daily Nation before we step out. And this morning, there's a story here on how Kenya is to deal with Gulf oil farms' inflated pump prices. And if you look at majority of the indices yesterday, we closed the markets yesterday on the green with the NSE 20 index closing in at 0.52%. And all share essentially going up by 1.08%. As then, majority of the stories again have been covered online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms or website at www.lookuptv.co.ke. Let's then take a breather and come back with the news this morning. Welcome back. Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu has said that only 121,391 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education candidates who scored a C class and above have applied for university placement. In a statement Monday, Machogu said the figure represents 60.8% of the total number of candidates who scored university entry grades. Let's take a look.
121,391 Kenya Certificate of Education secondary candidates who scored a mean grade of C+ and above have applied for university placement. This is according to Cabinet Secretary of Education Ezekiel Machogu. Machogu said the figure represents 60.8% of the total number of candidates who scored university entry grades. He said that the Ministry of Education projects that at least 86% of 2023 KCSE candidates will apply for university placement through Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service. The remaining 14%, according to Machogu, are expected to seek placement in universities not listed in Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service Module 2 programs or institutions of higher learning in other countries. Based on the application behavior of 2022 KCSE examination candidates who obtained a mean grade of C+ and above, It is projected that 86% of the 2023 KCSE candidates with C+ and above will apply for placement. This comes after Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service extended the placement application deadline indefinitely. He also urged all students whose mean grades between C and E to apply for desired diplomas, craft certificates, or artisan programs in TVET institutions. Maureen Bosire, Lookuptv.
Then move on with our news this morning, where Principal Secretary for Basic Education, Belio Kipsang, appearing before the Departmental Committee on Education, has had a hard time explaining that to the National Department Committee on Education, as the members of the committee demanded to know how capitation given to schools translates to quality of education and the standards of infrastructure. Brian Amwai now reports on that one.
It was a heated debate at the Departmental Committee on Education as PS for Basic Education Belio Kipsang came forward to defend his docket on the issue of capitation for schools as the ministries try to justify additional funding for their pockets in the coming financial year. The issue of figures in schools that have been inflated causing government billions of shillings were put on the table.
But the actual number of students in that school are 800. You have 400 here. Kariuki has 800 children in school. You release money for 400. What do you expect Kariuki to do, and you want him to deal with 100% transition?
But the ones receiving capitation is 15,000. What is happening with the rest of the money? And we are budgeting with the actual enrollment. We would want to have a single source of truth, the Kenya Education Management Information System. And as government, that's the direction we are going to take in terms of leveraging on technology. We must be able to fund a student that really exists. And we can only be able to know that these students exist if they are in record.
Capitation and quality assurance taking center stage, with the ministry being put on the spot for failing to ensure that the details given by schools are correct to ensure proper facilitation.
The school-based assessment now starts from grade 3, the Kenya Early Years Assessment. And Examination Council has also assigned an assessment number to our kids from grade 3 all the way to grade 6. So for children who do not have birth certificates, we are also going to use the assessment number so that we can capture them. So that our gray area, which we are now going to deal with, is grade 1 and grade 2. And we are now working very closely with Examination Council so that we also do not have schools who inflate their numbers in assessment by using the NAMI system. And we are looking forward with a national registration system, with the Maisha number now that will be issued at birth, then some of these challenges will be addressed.
The committee also wanted to know how the ministry seeks to handle the issue of inclusivity, where more disadvantaged schools seem to be getting the short end of the stick.
Controversial televangelist David Kariuki Ngari alias Kikuyo has been charged with conspiring to defraud members of the public over 1 billion shillings on the pretext that he was able to invest in real estate and the money market. Ngari, who is the founder of Ikeza Sacco, was arraigned Monday before Milimani Senior Resident Magistrate Benmark Ekubi. He denied 12 counts of conspiracy to defraud and obtain money through pretenses and was released on a cash bail of 10 million shillings. He was also ordered to surrender his passport to the court.
I'll grant the first accused person bond of bail in the following terms. A, the accused person may be granted a bond of Kenya shillings 20 million, a bond of Kenya shillings 20 million with 2 sureties of a similar amount. B, alternative to A, is that the accused person may be granted a cash bail of Kenya shillings 10 million, so a cash bail of 10 million shillings and then he'll provide 2 contact persons. Yeah, so 10 million Kenya shillings with 2 contact persons will be examined by the court. And the further directive is that one of the contact person must be an employee working with the government or public office. And then the C, the first accused person to deposit his passport as a prerequisite for being admitted to bond. And further also, and I think it's in the ordinary, he should not interfere with any investigation that is still pending or ongoing. And then, of course, I'll also issue warrants in respect to the second accused.
Moving on, this morning, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has called on counties to channel revenue collected from alcoholic drinks licenses into building and equipping rehabilitation centers. Speaking in Mombasa Monday, the DP said, despite the coast region being hard hit by the menace of drug abuse, there exists only 2 public rehabilitation centers. Gachagua called on coast leaders to step up in the fight against drugs and substance abuse as he questioned their absence at the illicit alcohol and drug eradication conference in Mombasa.
With the national government stepping up its efforts in the fight against drug and substance abuse, including the sale of illicit brew, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua today led several CSs in deliberating on how to enhance the fight against the menace in Mombasa County. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua blamed local leaders over silence in regards to the menace of drug abuse, while cautioning local authorities over the rise in cases of drug abuse.
Commanders, please, let's do the work we need to do. Umesikia viongozi hapa wanalia. You are sleeping on the job. Sasa mambo ya ODPP, we are fixed. Please do what you need to do.
In a bid to counter the menace, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki cautioned security officers who aid the sale of illicit brew, calling them to action to ensure the war against drug abuse is won.
And this happens under your watch, or you receive money to look the other way. Why should we keep you in that role even for an hour? And I want to assure you, in the name of God and in the name of the Constitution of our country, we will get hold of you. We will neutralize those efforts before you destroy the country.
The CS further noted that as opposed to how it has been, officers implicated in aiding drug and substance abuse will not be transferred, but will rather face the full force of the law.
We are going to change the country's transfer policy. Any official in the law enforcement and public service space who, through action or inaction, contributes to the death of Kenyans, through negligence, they allow dangerous criminals, organized criminals, including drug barons, to have their way to access the public. That officer will not be transferred, as you've said, Your Excellency.
County governments have been called upon to use revenue from registration of entertainment joints and liquor stores to set up rehabilitation centers.
I agree county governments should use the fees that they collect from licensing alcoholic outlets to mitigate against addiction and to rehabilitate and reintegrate those that are affected.
National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndung'u has revealed that the government is planning to borrow 703 billion shillings in the financial year 2023-2024. He says this is to aid in the completion of government projects. As Mervyn Getembe now reports, Ndung'u says that the government paid 1.2 trillion shillings in the financial year 2023-2024, which is the total national debt, and has laid plans to pay the outstanding, which now is at 11.48 trillion in the next 10 years.
Appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Public Debt and Privatization, Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning Njuguna Ndung'u has revealed that the government is planning to borrow 703 billion shillings in the financial year 2024-2025 in order to finance the government projects.
Current stock of public debt and publicly guaranteed debt stands at 11.248 trillion, and which is 69.7% of GDP in nominal terms. But the current present value of public debt to GDP is actually 67.2%. The difference between the two is actually that the present value takes into account the maturity profile of the debt.
The government paid 1.2 trillion in the financial year 2023-2024 of the total national debt, Ndungu adding that the government has laid plans to pay the outstanding debt within 10 years.
Then in June 2022, it went up to 917. June 2023, it went up to 1.2 trillion. In June 2024, as a result of the liability management, it will come down by the amount that we have done, the $1.5. So in the supplementary 2, the debt service will come down because of the liability management that we have undertaken.
It is a blow to the government and the country at large after Ndungu announced that it has lost several investors, the CA saying, and the government seeks to have changes in the tax policy in order to ease the burden on debt on the country.
This and resolve this through the market, and the market was quite clear. And for us to get the best pricing, because essentially the market is still brutal out there, it can't give you long term, because long term is still looking, I mean, if the market believed the Fed would lower interest rates, they would actually have gone to 10 years. But the market cannot even go beyond 6.5 years.
Mevin Getembe, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
President William Ruto on Monday, February 26th, met with his Ugandan counterpart Yoweri Museveni and azimio leader Raila Odinga in Kisozi, Uganda. Among the issues discussed by the trio was the Raila's candidacy for the African Union Commission chairmanship, where the opposition leader will be seeking support from the 55 member states to secure his bid. Further, they discussed ways to deepen the bilateral ties between the two nations on commodities such as energy and petroleum. So, we're going to define the word this morning, and the word is simple as self-importance, and we're going to go back to the English dictionary. So it says, it is an exaggerated sense of one's own value of importance. Used in a sentence, it was big, blustering, opinionated cop, or full of self-importance. But then again, there is a word that I also want us to define this morning: bombastic. It means high-sounding, but with little meaning. A synonym to bombastic is inflated. And if you want to use it in a sentence, we're going to use it once we come back from this break. So the question that we're asking this morning is quite simple there. With a lot of Kenyans really auditing the president's remarks, the question we're asking this morning is it a kiss of self-importance or just lies? How do you place the president's speeches and sentiments on where the country is heading and the promises that have not been fulfilled or halfway fulfilled in one sentence? And that's the question we're asking this morning as we audit majority of the submissions that have come from the president on issues ranging from spending or government expenditure to borrowing to jobs abroad and his vision when he goes outside the country and speaks to there are other African presidents. Case in point, when he was in RDS. So this morning, let's define those words and essentially make sense of why majority of Kenyans have been irked even by the president's latest remark of him being the only African president who's been invited to White House. Once we come back.
Once again ni kwa hisani ya Tatua Tatu, na kwa hisani yako wewe kucheza Tatua Tatu kila wakati ambapo unacheza kuna asilimia fulani ambayo inakuja kusaidia. Siku ya leo kuna shule ya Dr. Agre ambao watakuwa wanapata modern kitchen. Hebu kama ucheki mambo makubwa jamani. Hii sasa, hii hapa ni store. Vyakula vikija vinatulia hapa. Hapa sasa ndio mambo yanafanyika sasa. Tayari unasikia something nice inaiva. Chakula ikiiva inachukuliwa pole pole inapelekwa katika hii hall ambayo imeshikana na state of the art kitchen. Yote haya ni kwa hisani ya CDF ya Starehe ikishirikiana na Tatua Tatu.
Mambo ni mawili, kufikisha, kumwaga na kurudi. Kulala ni mwaka mpya.
Bua muka we mse. Nini mbaya? Wewe kwani wani vile dereva anaendesha gari vibaya? Lazima tususe. Anaendesha gari na kwa simu the whole time hata angalia barabara. Tusimame. Wewe dereva wewe. Mwaka iliyopita peke yake watu zaidi ya 3,000 walipoteza maisha yao barabarani kwa sababu ya tabia kama hizo. Hautatuangamiza tukiona.
Naomba msamaha, nitapeleka vizuri.
Si wameomba msamaha. Sasa tuende tusafiri kwa mwendo wa aste.
Dere Smart hufikisha abiria salama. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed the life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
If you want to have a proper outlook of the economy, then you have to speak to the walls and gears of the integral businesses in the country.
And I want to be able to make the youths and everybody coming up in Kenya know that this is here locally.
Men and women in the thick of the burst of markets rising and falling, fighting to make their business decisions stick.
I've always lived in my career that I can never be late.
You need to train by yourself. You need to practice by yourself. Then from there,
there you can compose yourself and give kind of services like this.
On season 2 of The Captain's Arena, we seek the inside of the minds, predict the shift in the markets, get inspiration to start, and make sense of it all.
Just watch what everybody else is doing and just make sure you're giving back to the society.
Oof. This is The Captain's Arena. And Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. I know the topic that we're going to talk about this morning, but since I see Prof already in the studio and Mr. Githaiga in the studio, I got to start from this particular perspective. The only way that we're going to say good morning, by the way. And if you can, then Sheila, could you please kindly show us the front page of the Daily Nation this morning, because there's a conversation now that we have to introduce our show with this morning. A picture of one, Yoweri Museveni, Raila Amolo Odinga, and President Dr. William Ruto in Uganda. Prof, good morning, sir.
Morning, my brother.
We have to start like that.
Yes.
That particular picture right there.
Yes.
Is it the end of opposition as we do know it in the country?
No, we can't say the end of opposition.
Who's going to lead the opposition?
But we can say the end of an era. But Simba, I told you, Linda Jami began immediately. William Ruto was declared president-elect at Bomas. And as soon as I saw that picture, I walked into Nyayo House and registered Linda Jami.
Yes.
And I've been in the opposition. All along, I've been in the opposition. And I can tell you how I've been in the opposition. When Raila read the statement on G2G, I had already issued a statement.
Does it?
E-Citizen, I already issued a statement. The issue of planting of trees,
Yes.
I had issued a statement. I had issued even a statement regarding the constitutional reform, the way it should be done.
Yes.
I had even talked about the fact that you cannot recall the president and deputy president. So what we can see is that maybe it is important thing that Raila Odinga focuses on going to AU. So I think maybe that is the bigger sacrifice he has to make. But for sure, when you look at the page, when you see Yoweri Museveni,
yes,
who is among the longest serving, not among actually the longest, among the longest serving heads of state in Africa.
Yes.
And Raila has been in that very controversy saying that people should do 2 terms and go home.
Yes.
When you see William Ruto in the same picture with Raila and Museveni, it tells you that it's an end of an era.
Does it?
Not end of opposition.
Not end of opposition.
It's an end of an era.
Got to point you out to what Dr. Ekuro Okot is saying this morning. I'm
Yes,
going to read it to
yes,
you.
yeah.
That the political genius, and he puts in quotes, of the Kenya Kwanza administration under President William Ruto just needs to come out clean and say they're getting rid of Baba, Jakam, Awambo, aka Tinga, Nyakwarodima. Raila Odinga out of Kenya's politics since he has a fanatical following that can destabilize a feckless administration. Is that what it is?
I think that Ekuro Okot is a very good friend of mine.
Yes.
In any case, you might find me and Ekuro Okot in the same coalition.
Yes.
In the run-up to 2027. In any case, that is a possibility. All those discussions are being done. Remember, Simba, a revolution is never televised. A revolution comes as a breaking news. You'll just hear breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. So I'm telling Kenyans, be ready for more breaking news, and this is going to surprise you. And if William Ruto thinks that by supporting Raila to go to AU,
yes,
he's eliminating competition, it's better to have competition you know than the competition you do not know. I've been telling people that people don't understand these things clearly, Simba. If I have taught more than 1 million executives in my life, these are students who live in this country. Let's say they can influence 5 people each. How many votes do I have? You know, people don't understand that. I've trained more than 100 boards. Even I'm taking another board to Turkey for training next month.
Yes.
So people have not understood the importance or the fact that I'm a professional, I'm not tainted in any way, I'm a governance expert, I'm an economist. These are the answers to Kenya's current situation.
That's it.
So what I'm trying to say is, not just me, but look across the board, even the Kuru Accord.
Yes.
Look at so many movements that are now gathering storm. Those movements will be more dangerous than Raila Odinga, because Raila Odinga, you can even know his door, you can know his window, you can know the road to his place, but some of us, you cannot even understand how we are moving.
That's it.
So not just Fred Ogola, there are so many people who have learned from Raila Odinga, and the spirit lives on, and they're going to take the spirit going forward. So according to me, Raila Odinga must have just looked and said, maybe he needs to elevate himself to become Baba wa Africa, instead of being Baba wa Taifa, Sivyo, and him being Baba wa Africa, maybe there are some things he can do that maybe Kenyans will miss him, and maybe this could also actually be able to support the liberation for Africa. But of course, you can see he has a lot of new friends to make, because if you are making friends to become head of state of Kenya, to become head of state of Africa, you may need to have new friends, but also he'll make new enemies. And the enemies who are here, like William Ruto has his friend, flying in the same jet with him to Namibia. I also assume the flight to Kampala was not separate flights. It was the same flight.
Yes.
Government of Kenya, official presidential jet, they can call in the US Air Force One, shared by the arch rivals. I think that Museveni has done a better handshake than Obasanjo. Even if you like, he has done the better one than the one which was done by Kofi Annan. This is a handshake whereby they're holding the same stick, meaning that, look at that stick, Museveni is holding the same stick, similar stick to that one that Ruto is holding, and it means that they are in the same WhatsApp group, they're reading from the same book, they're reading from the same script, they have the same philosophy, the same ideology, and the same goal in life.
That's it. Mr. Githai, and we're going to come back to that because there's something also brewing now right here for Kalonzo Musyoka before we go to our topic now. Mr. Githai, you know what? You called it. You called it. Good morning, by the way. I should start like that. You called it when we were here last time talking about what patterns were getting drawn here. Are you going to share the same sentiments that this is the end of Raila Amolo Odinga when it comes to local politics? And somebody somewhere, it looks like Dr. President William Ruto has picked this as his personal campaign now.
You see,
yes.
Thank you very much for inviting me once more. It's always a great pleasure to be on Lookuptv, the #1 TV station. And so let me tell you something. Like I've always said here, I've said we have one of the most intelligent presidents in Africa, if not the current most intelligent. I would like you to put pictures of African presidents, all right? Okay? Right now, the ones who are seated, the 55 of them. And I'm telling you, Ruto comes on top.
What is your metric?
No, listen, it's a fact. I can tell you. The only guy who would give him a bit of a champion, but then even Zambia, the way they are performing, you can't really compare with us here. We're far much ahead. So it shows you that William Samoei Ruto is a doctor of botany, but he's a doctor of politics. And he has beat even Raila, who's the godfather of Kenyan politics, because that's what Raila is. You know, he's a godfather. He's been a godfather to many people. You see, even Ruto was under his wing. Uhuru Kenyatta has been under his wing. You know, so Raila has reached a stage in his career of politics where he's become now an eminent person. You know, even it goes with his age. You see, eminency is the fact that now you cannot keep running around. You cannot keep dealing with these minor issues.
Yes.
It's called generation change. It's called succession. Raila Odinga, I'm sure he knew in his heart he's not going to run in 2027 after 2022.
Are you calling it now?
No, I'm just telling you he's not going to run. I can tell you clearly. Raila is focused on the Pan-African movement. He's focused together. And I don't like the way sometimes you're reading into these things with a lot of suspicion. For Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto to fly together, it clearly shows you that Kenya is moving on the right direction. Let me tell you, today you ask all those people from opposition, and you see even him here. Today he's not spoken anything about Ruto. But you can see how that coming together can change things. And what we need in Kenya, we have deficiency of optimism. And you know, optimism has to be built by unity, has to be built by showing our leadership. You remember in 2023, 203, the reason why Kenya became the most optimistic nation is because of that unity. And the fact that Moi, being the leader at that time, accepting the defeat, so there was no opposition, there was no fight. Yeah? Right? You could not say Uhuru Kenyatta was an opposition to Moi Kibaki. You understand? That's why there was optimism. The whole country had come together. So when we see William Samoei Ruto, our beloved president, hand in hand, holding elder sticks, those are staffs. You know, in ancient Egypt, those are what the pharaohs used to walk with. Even in the Bible, Moses walked with things like that. It shows you that sasa wazee wamekaa, wazee wa Boma, they have sat down and they have put their interests aside so that Kenya can be able to move, East Africa can be able to move. And also, I also think this is part of the shuttle diplomacy. Because as you know, Raila Odinga and Museveni have not been seeing eye to eye for a very long time in Kenya, in the Kenyan political East African, because of the linkages that were there from before. And to see William Samoei Ruto, baba wetu, sasa huyo ndio baba wa taifa, wewe sawa hiyo. Baba wa taifa is now William Samoei Ruto. And you can see the level of maturity this president has. We just love him.
Or smart enough to know.
Before he interjects me, you know he likes interjecting, and you give him a whole 15 minutes.
Continue. He's not interjected.
So protect me. So basically, you can understand that William Samoei Ruto is not what people thought. You see, Raila has always been criticizing Kenya. He's always been hitting on Ruto, where Muizi, where Nini, but then look at them today. So it shows you so many of these things are just political gimmicks and tag words and keywords that politicians use to describe each other so that you can get their attention. But deep down in them, Kenyans, you can see these people are working together. So this is a form of showing Kenyans, let's put our differences aside, let's put our tribalism aside, let's put our political affiliations aside, put Kenya first. Let's walk as a country first. Because let me tell you, what you're not seeing also is William Samoei Ruto was elected or selected or appointed as a champion for institutional reforms. And Raila has been in the forefront of fighting for institutional reforms. So now those two working together, you know, Kenya is, by the way, when we talk about institutions, even South Africa, as it's advanced as it is, Kenya has much more advanced institutions than most of the countries, 3/4 of the countries in Africa. So now we're going to have an impact and align Africa and bring Africa together. Like I can tell you, one of the things that our president is going to go for is the system for trade and transaction. For example, if you want today to trade with someone in Togo, do you know you have to change dollars? You have to go to the Forex Bureau, sell your money as dollars. You don't go and buy the Togo money. You have to buy dollars to trade with the Togo person. This is why, because of the transactions, reforms, we need so that corruption is cut.
Pretty much.
So therefore, just to conclude, we are happy. Raila Odinga.
When you say we are happy, you're speaking from what side?
Like, I'm speaking from the government side. Yes, I'm a champion for the government. And you know, in this show, I'm a tough defender. But I want to touch on two things that he mentioned. Just very fast.
But it's an introduction. I'll be coming to you.
1 minute. Because that point will go. A court right now has no job. His work is finished. He's nowhere. These are people who cannot even mobilize 10 Kenyans in that street. The only place they can run is court because they know some judges. Secondly, the end of opposition, is that was your question?
Yes, yes.
Definitely. Negative opposition, toxic opposition. That's the end of it. Because right now, there is no division. You understand? There is no fight between, even the other day you had Gachagua reaching out to Uhuru Kenyatta, right? So the only person, by then I wanted to point out, in this thing, the person who I think is losing is Uhuru Kenyatta. He's a loser. Because if he tries to oppose or to go against Raila Odinga's ambition for AU, that will be wrong.
That's it. It's already declared who is supporting in this, by the way.
Who has it declared?
Kikwete.
You see?
That's it. Just
you see? Okay. He is a loser.
Prof, I'm pointing you out into a direction because it's just an introduction
to
a conversation
this
morning. It's a very good thing. I've never seen Githaiga come here and praise
we are seeing Raila, a Western guy, Ruto, a Rift Valley guy. Where is our people from Mount Kenya?
In this direction.
Yes.
That indeed, if Raila Amolo Odinga loses then, it's Ruto who has lost. Because you can see he's taken this as a personal project, it's a Kenyan project now, that Raila Amolo Odinga is now a project for one President Dr. William Ruto, that if he loses, then it's Ruto who has lost. And let's talk about what is happening now in the country as it is. I mean, it's as if somebody within the Azimio coalition is reading the intent of Raila Amolo Odinga, is really pushing for this particular position. That means his absence locally here is going to be felt in the next couple of months as we wait for next year and see whether he can actually get this top job. And so they've put conditions for one Kalonzo Musyoka. They've told him, you want us to support you, we have to feel your presence. Meaning, lead the troops now, that position is open for you. Is there a chance for Kalonzo Musyoka to prove that indeed he has the muscle then to go in and be the next strong opposition leader after Raila Amolo Odinga?
Yeah, first of all, let me tell you this. To understand that thing, we have to put this thing into context. I sat down with someone very close to President Uhuru Kenyatta during the run-up to 2022 elections. And I asked them a question. Why do you think Moi chose Uhuru Kenyatta over everyone that looked like a front runner just in the run-up to 2002 elections? Because remember, Uhuru Kenyatta was almost like a greenhorn to have been taken by a very experienced politician in the name of Daniel Arap Moi. So this person gave me a story of when it was in Cabernet Gardens, in Cabernet at home, not Gardens, the one in Nairobi. When Moi was there by 7 a.m. waiting for all choppers to land of the great people, the day he said it is Uhuru Kenyatta before he made it public in the media. And Moi explained to these people one by one why everyone was eliminated. Then Uhuru Kenyatta became the favorite and Kalonzo was among the front runners. Remember at that time, Musalia Mudavadi was the vice president. So the first question was, why didn't you take your very vice president? And Moi said that Musalia Mudavadi is a coward. And he meant coward this way. Sally Kosgei had organized a meeting between the president and the vice president in Nakuru State Lodge, where Musalia was supposed to tell Moi that it is me, because Moi had not pronounced whether it was Uhuru. So it was dinner, fire was set, dinner started, they were eating, two of them, 4 eyes meeting, 4, like my eye, 2 eyes and your eyes, 4. He couldn't say what he wanted. Food has been there, he's eating, he's drinking, he's enjoying the food, he's enjoying the drink, but he forgot to say what he wants. So in the end, Moi saw that his vice president was not being forthright by saying what he wants. Then Moi asked him, why don't we take Uhuru Kenyatta? And he said yes. I remember that time Jirongo, Moses Wetangula, Sally Kosgei, all the people in Mudavadi's camp, including William Ruto, wanted Musalia Mudavadi to be fronted as the candidate. Can you imagine? William Ruto wanted Musalia to be, and Musalia couldn't say it. Musalia looked like that man who admires a certain woman. Then the woman says, "Now let's go for dinner." Then you can't even tell her, "I love you." You can't even tell her any word. So that's why he said Musalia could not make it. Secondly, Moi said that when Musalia was the vice president, he used to cry to him over bullies by Muskari Combo, isn't it? So he said that if this guy becomes head of state, when I'm already retired, he will be coming to me to cry to me. So you look at when William Ruto was the president, he was cruising everybody until even Uhuru could say, please go slow on this guy, go slow on that guy. So that's why Musalia couldn't make it. Now let me go to Kalonzo. Moi said Kalonzo has a lot of what's called entitlement. Entitlement, because when Kalonzo was the Minister for Foreign Affairs, he could cry, oh, I went to Chad, there was no toilet. You see, they need welcome me very well. As Minister for Foreign Affairs, command the ambassador, tell him what he wants. You cannot come to State House and to cry to me over, I don't know, this was not given to me, there was no food for me, the driver didn't come on time. You are in command, take charge. And that's why you see now, ODM guys are saying, show us that you are that guy. Prove yourself. Kalonzo feels entitled. Remember, he's a son of a former chief. Kalonzo's powers are inherited powers from the parents. It is not what he worked for. So that entitlement is going to be the biggest challenge for Kalonzo's presidency, because he might actually not get it. There's no power is not given, power is taken. William Ruto took this power. He was not given. Who gave him? You tell me who gave. If you gave him, you tell me. And that's what is going to be a big challenge. Between a go-getter like William Ruto and the weight to be given like Kalonzo, who will win this election? So that's why ODM is worried that, can this guy be our candidate? And that are saying, please, can you even lead a demo? Last time, the lawyers were having challenge in the seat. He appeared to have sit next to them and was making a speech afraid of everybody inside there. Kalonzo Musyoka, according to me, will not resonate with many people. Like Maasai people, they cannot vote for a weakling. In Maasai, if you say you're a leader, they give another person, you fight it out to show who is stronger. That's how kings were elected in Maasai land. Kalenjin the same way. Luos also, you cannot be given. You have to fight out and show and prove. And many communities the same. Like Mount Kenya, you have to fight out yourself and prove yourself. So according to me, what's happening in Kalonzo is the same. Now, even this person asked, why not Raila Odinga? And Moi said, Raila Odinga is positioned himself as a statesman. Raila shows in the side of the masses. So we believe that if Raila Odinga becomes president, he can actually sacrifice you to show that he's on the side of the masses. That's why they feared him. Somebody asked, why not Saitoti? Then they say Saitoti has a lot of wealth, but Saitoti feels some bitterness in him, that he always looked like there's something that was bitter in him. And no, leadership does not need someone who is bitter. You just need to come and lead people. So everyone, CV was outlaid, and Moi said, why Uhuru Kenyatta? Said Uhuru Kenyatta has something that already he grew up with power. Uhuru Kenyatta is a calm leader. Uhuru Kenyatta can be pushed until he says, let me give him. For example, remember, when Raila pushed him during the 2013 election, he came in and said, let's have a handshake. 2017. Uhuru Kenyatta cannot stretch and break a nation. You know, there are some leaders that if you are to remove them from power, they must die, isn't it? Like William Ruto is one of them. There is no way you can go to the street and threaten William Ruto, you leave office. Ruto will leave the office when everyone is dead. Uhuru is the opposite. And that's why, for me, it's unfortunate that such people should become leaders. A leader should say, now time has come, when the nation is more important than me, then let me leave. And that's what's happening in UK, where someone resigns and says, I cannot handle, let me go home. So if you look at it, what's happening in the Kalonzo now is just the fact that people feel that he's entitled. He's sitting back waiting for Raila to tell him, now come to Kisumu, now do this and that. And I told you earlier, if I was Kalonzo, the day Kalonzo was told by Raila that we will support you, I could have left Bondo as the king. Look here, when Kalonzo had known Raila is now going to AU, Kalonzo gave a statement in Karen that now Azimio is supporting Raila's candidature to AU. Then he took a motorcade to come to Kenyatta to address the rally. When he reached there, he was talking more about Sifuna than himself. He told people, Mimi, the biggest fighter in Azimio is Sifuna, and give Sifuna whatever he wants. I was wondering, in fact, he made a mistake. Because remember, Babu Owino is trying to become governor of Nairobi, isn't it? Sifuna maybe want to become governor of Nairobi. So if already you guys say it is Sifuna, this early, Tim Wanyonyi is also there. You know, Tim Wanyonyi has said, you're not with me. Babu Owino said, you're not with me. you leave the political field excited until the end. If there's let's say there's Africa Cup of Nations, and by the first day we know who is winning the Africa Cup of Nations, there's no excitement.
Yes.
We should leave the excitement until the end. Now everyone should declare they're running. In fact, Martha Karua should not even say it's automatic. Martha Karua should fight. Kioni should fight. Oparanya should come fighting. Joho should come fighting for this Azimio ticket. But if people are afraid of becoming Azimio Kenya and they start running to a small cocoon of their parties, Azimio will have a hard day.
Yes.
Remember, our coalition is also coming. So just give me a minute. I reply something small about what Githaga said. Mm-hmm. One, if you tell us William Ruto is the most intelligent president in Africa, that is wrong. There's a correlation between knowledge and economic performance. So how comes Kenya is not the best country economically performing since he took office? According to one of the fathers of management called Henry Mintzberg, you must have read it somehow. Yes. Henry Mintzberg says that you see intelligence not by IQ, but you see intelligence in the activity someone do. For example, even the Bible says that you observe a tree with a fruit. So this intelligence of William Ruto that we cannot see in the GDP, we can't see it when you go to the fuel station. We can't see it when you go to the supermarket. We can't see it when we go to hospital. We can't see it when we go to school. Mm-hmm. This intelligence is just political intelligence for diverting Kenyans' attention or what? I will not subscribe to the fact that William Ruto is the most intelligent person. Yes. At least I'll quote P.L. Lumumba, who one day said that if you are the most intelligent lawyer, you must use your intelligence for the good of the nation. Is William Ruto using his intelligence for the goodness of a nation? And according to me, the discussion about the most intelligent here should not be the issue. William Ruto did not create AU. Those are things which have come by God's grace. I can say it's God-given chance that has come to bring to the picture. Then my last comment I want to make, and this is very important, it's very fundamental. According to me, this picture that you see here also says something which is very remarkable. Mm-hmm. What is remarkable here is that this picture should also be seen positively, apart from us looking at it negatively. Mm-hmm. That God sometimes brings an opportunity that can unite the people who are very strong enemies. For example, Museveni has always been seen to be, even Raila was saying he was using the military from Uganda to mobilize and fight the Luos in Migingo. Museveni has been seen to be bringing military even to help rig the election. Remember those things were there?
Yes.
So them coming together, God can bring a chance on which Kenya needs to be at peace with Uganda. So I want to take this chance to ask His Excellency Museveni Kaguta, please use this time to discuss Raila so that Luos who are suffering in Migingo can be sorted, because that war where Luos are being given raw fish, being thrown in the water is not necessary. And then at the same time, it's also opportunity for East African community to unite together as economic bloc, not just for the candidature of Raila Odinga, the way they are put it, which I like, but also for economic prosperity of East African community, so that we start seeing ourselves as a 3 million market. Yes. This could give East Africa the first chance to really negotiate and compete with the rest of Africa, but also with the West.
Pretty much. Yes. You also have a chance to respond. You're going to make the last comments on this particular issue before we jump into a bigger conversation on the position of Kalonzo Musyoka now and the opposition in the country. Yes. That if indeed the president is with Raila Amolo Odinga heavily campaigning for that particular position, then chances are that if the leader of opposition is on in the country, then we have to feel that somebody somewhere has taken the baton. Yes. Do you think Kalonzo is up to the task?
You see, Kalonzo can do it because he's proved to be someone who is focused in terms of he's been loyal towards that opposition since CORD. You know, he's not gone like before. You know, remember the other time where he lost his political magnanimity when he joined Kibaki. So, you know, that time people were like, hey, doubting why, you know, Kalonzo had a nickname, I think, something.
Yes, sir.
But Kalonzo is a mature statesman. He's one of the most experienced leaders that we have. He's been foreign affairs minister. He's been vice president, not once, you know. So Kalonzo has what it takes. Kalonzo also is a leader of Wiper. Yes. Is it the third largest political party in the country? He has his members of parliament in parliament. And going by the deal that was done between Kalonzo and Raila Odinga, it is very uncalled for anybody to try and start asking Kalonzo now to prove himself. Because Raila Odinga, having now declared his interest in the AU,
yes,
that now gives Kalonzo that opportunity to assimilate and take over the mantle of Azimio. Whether he performs or not, that is not an issue to discuss. That is a matter for him and his plan. So therefore, Kalonzo Musyoka, I think we've been here before. I remember once before Raila Odinga went in public and said Kalonzo Tosha at a conference.
Yes.
And my brother here, we all agreed, all of us agreed that if I was Kalonzo that day, I would have hit the town running on top of the sunroof and declaring that I am the
official leader.
Official. So this is the same opportunity that stands in front of him today.
Yes.
He has to now step up his game, because obviously we have young Turks in Azimio, like you rightly mentioned, people like Akina Sifuna,
yes,
and other characters there which don't have the experience. You know, leadership needs people with experience. So for Kalonzo, I say I urge Kenyans, give him that opportunity, yes, to now take over the mantle for opposition, so that he can, you know, opposition doesn't mean you have to fight government.
Just a short
Wait, hold on.
This is you're going to interject.
Brother,
You're going to interject.
Professor is
Yes,
a professor.
yes.
I don't know
please
continue.
Continue submitting, please. Continue submitting.
Because
yes,
I wonder every time
Prof,
I
continue submitting.
Sour.
Continue submitting.
Thank you.
Yes.
I need protection. So you see, I'm almost going to lose my point. But you see, what I'm trying to say is that
yes,
it's not a matter of going to the streets.
Yes.
Opposition leadership is not going to the streets like my friend was talking. Opposition leadership is being able to argue your points, mobilize people for actual causes.
Yes.
You know, not just so that you can be in opposition. No, it's not about going to the streets. And I believe Kalonzo stands the chance to give a formidable opposition and represent the opposition well. And I do wish him the best. Obviously, the position for official opposition leader, now that we'll be discussing in some few days to come, yes, about the NADOC report, and we'll know about that. But anyway, just to sum up on this picture, and also just to show you the excellence of William Samoei Ruto. Last week, the president held a retreat for cabinet at Naivasha, where Professor tried to lie to us that it cost 10 billion. But you can see, you know, we've known Professor nowadays makes some noise. But what I'm trying to say is this. The best State Department or ministry was the Foreign Affairs. It was number one. You saw that ranking. And I would like to take this opportunity to recognize P.S. Koril Singh for his brilliance and excellence in his work. Because you can even see, even though the president wants, and also Musalia Mudavadi, the minister,
yes,
of Foreign Affairs, man, right now Kenya at level of Foreign Affairs, we are the best Kenya has ever had. We are running our foreign policy the best Kenya has ever had. That's why a brother like this can start saying it's an act of maybe God, but it's the brilliance of William Samoei Ruto's cabinet. And it shows you the machinery that William Samoei Ruto is working with. You know, all these shenanigans of saying William Samoei Ruto has no advisors, you can clearly see the way you know a leader is by what he does. And this move is excellent. So summing up and saying that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has ensured that Kenya's foreign policy is excellent at par with even America.
Yes.
And that is why all the nations in the world, and I would like to also remind Kenyans that William Samoei Ruto does not go outside the country for his own benefit. He goes outside the country because Kenya holds a significant role in Africa and the whole world. Like Kenya is one of the most advanced African countries, which has the most advanced human beings. So when William Samoei Ruto goes out there to defend, to protect, and to stand with our country, we need to support him. And I urge Kenyans, now that Raila Odinga has decided and agreed to work with William Samoei Ruto, please, for the first time, it is better we have optimism, because another thing we have to understand, you see, when we have an informal economy, it looks a very pessimistic economy.
Yes.
Because everything looks informal and downgraded. Let's give William Samoei Ruto an opportunity to bring in the goodies so that our manufacturing industry can thrive, so that our trade, like now we're discussing about WTO MC13, which is on the table right now. We need to give William Ruto that opportunity just to work.
Yes.
Let him have peace.
Pretty
Let
much.
him run the country
Yes.
properly.
Yes.
Because now is the time to build Kenya,
Yes.
not to destroy Kenya.
Pretty much.
Thank you.
Prof, if you can allow me, we have to chat our topic this morning. It's quite heavy, and in fact, some of the points that you have are essentially going to cross over to the topic that we have this morning. Now, Sheila, if you could please bring up our poster this morning, because even as we floated that poster, there were a lot of questions that we did get on our social media platforms about why we would have that poster, and we're here also to defend it this morning. Now, here's what our poster has. Our poster has two very key words in it. We asked whether there's a case of self-importance, and this is what self-importance essentially would mean from my end. And Prof, I'm going to read it. It means an exaggerated sense of one's own value or importance.
Exaggerated.
Exaggerated sense of one's own value or importance. What we say, he was big, blustering, opinionated, full of self-importance. You can use it in a sentence like that. So it's not essentially a positive attribute. So we move on to the second one, which is essentially bombastic. Now, bombastic, Prof, according to the British the dictionary, would mean high-sounding, but with little meaning. Synonym, inflected. All right? Some people call it a rhetoric.
Actually, the most accurate word
Yes.
in Queen's English is inflated sense of importance.
Doesn't.
Inflated sense of importance.
Pretty much. Now, gentlemen, we're introducing the subject then. This weekend, the president did say something that sort of got Kenyans talking about what sort of president Dr. William Ruto is. Now, and I'm going to read a statement. It's a story that we covered on www.lookuptv.co.ke. It spoke about a lot, but I'm just going to bring out that particular statement that I am the only African president in over 20 years was being invited to the White House. Well, Kenyans say, oh yeah, that's really good. But then Kenyans started digging and saying, well, how is that possible? Have we had a Kenyan president invited to the White House or given a special invitation to the White House? Guess what came up? That the last man in office, President Uhuru Kenyatta, was also invited to the White House by the same president that President Dr. William Ruto is saying that he's been invited with. Now, if you go back to a story that we did right here at Lookuptv on 2021, it shows that, and this is the title, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta was hosted at the White House in Washington, D.C. for bilateral talks at the end of the Kenyan leaders' tour in that particular state. So it turns out, no, like you don't have to dig so far to say, you're not the only one, which is why we asked the question. So we started digging about other declarations and submissions that the president has made, which is why we asked the question, is it a case of self-importance or just bombastic statements that are coming from the president? We did a lot of notes on issues that have come from the president. The majority of Kenyans are saying, no, you're wrong on that. Or, no, sir, you're not right on it. You're inflating it. No, you're putting it as you, but essentially it's not you. So there's just a lot of them we're going to look at. But let's first introduce this particular conversation with that statement itself. How is it that President Dr. William Ruto can stand in front of a national stage, televised, and say that I am the only African president for over 20 years who's been invited to the White House? A case of self-importance?
No, first of all, there are a lot of questions there to ask.
Yes.
And the most important question to ask is, how is that important to a common mwananchi? And then when you hear your head of state is flying to Washington, D.C. to meet the president of the U.S. in White House,
yes,
what comes to your mind? What is he bringing? So we should ask the question, so what did you bring? Because, for example, when Uhuru was there, he did a bilateral negotiation.
Yes.
This ended up into the Kenya, Nairobi, New York flight,
Yes.
direct flight,
Yes,
isn't
yes.
it? Do you know how important that is? That's very important, isn't it? I'm sure also Trump was among the best American presidents
yes,
vis-a-vis Kenya. He never came here, but there are so many negotiations that took place in between. Obama came to the country also during Uhuru Kenyatta's reign. Maybe Uhuru Kenyatta can say, I'm the first African president to host Obama, which will be a lie, of course, but at least Kenyans saw Obama here. And Uhuru Kenyatta, I respect him for all things, even if my brother believes he's the loser in this discussion. I don't think anything Uhuru Kenyatta has to lose. Uhuru Kenyatta has been president for 10 years. Ruto has not even done 2 years. So there's nothing comparing the two of them. And I believe that when he hosted Obama here, there's something I like about Uhuru Kenyatta. We've never met. I'm not his friend, but I'm trying to say I just a president that I admire.
yes,
Uhuru Kenyatta is able to stand his ground even when there was West supremacy. Remember when Obama came here, Obama suggested something to do with these things, the so-called the gay rights, eh? And Uhuru was saying, excuse me, my brother, that's our thing, leave us, we're Africans, we know how we do our thing. Can William Ruto stand the same thing when it's at White House? So I'm trying to say that if you want affirmation from outside, are you really feeling legitimate?
Is it affirmation?
Yeah, because you're saying that
when
being
you
invited
yes,
to White House,
yes,
what does that mean?
it's when he says it, what does he want us to see? I mean, he's saying that I am the only African president in over 20 years who've been invited to the White House.
Let's look for a word.
What does he
which
want
is
us to
important.
see?
Have you heard this word, which is, I'm trying to coach a lot of the youth, that self-assertiveness. You know, when you're self-assertive,
yes,
you don't need too much affirmation from outside. There are some men who cannot even love their wife because they have not been told thank you. Some people, if you don't affirm them, they cannot even wake up. They cannot even do anything. So why are you seeking attention or being invited to White House? If I say I'm the first African to be invited to Lookuptv, what does that make of me? What am I lacking that must come out? Do Kenyans care about that?
But
according to me,
do you want us to see you very important? Because if you've been personally invited to the White House as the only African president, I mean, we do know that we have over 52 states in Africa. I mean, if you're only one, then you must be very important.
It doesn't matter, my brother. Let me tell you what. What matters? What does that add value to him? Being invited to State House.
Doesn't mean that
White House.
That doesn't mean that Kenyans have a very important president.
No, in fact, the more you say it, the more it goes away from you. If it was tweeted by, for example, Raila Odinga by saying William Ruto is the first president to have been invited to White House, it makes sense. But
yes,
he himself, he should not. I'm sure that there is what is called in marketing series of firsts. I was the first one to walk on this road. Even Americans have come to claim that they're the first one to discover Mount Kenya, which means Mount Kenya people did not know where Mount Kenya is. Can you believe how those things have been? And these lies didn't start now. They started even in the Bible. How can someone come from the US and then say they have discovered Mount Kenya? You know, these are the insults we have. These are the kind of leadership we do not need. I can tell you, the university where I did my PhD, I was the first African to be there, but I've never have to say it.
You need to say it, Prof.
Yes.
You need to say it.
But I mean, I was the first African. This is
when we read history books, and they say who was the first African to get a PhD from this particular institution.
It was me.
If you say it, if you tell me that, what do you want me to realize, Prof?
But you see, what my intention of saying it, I was just trying to tell you there are so many things we have been the first to do. Simba, maybe you can even say you're the first one to do such kind of a show on Lookuptv.
Yes.
But why must you say it? When it can't necessary to say it, then we are looking for more the reason why you say it.
Maybe the question I should ask then, was it necessary for him to say it right there on that stage?
It was not necessary at all. First of all, the president is known by making very outrageous lies on the face of Kenyans. Like, he stands up and says something like, unga is now cheaper now than it was 1 year ago. And those things we know. He can say fuel is much cheaper today than last time. He said G2G oil will, and you can be seen the front of Business Daily. I think that, Simba, I can say on this show, and I'm sorry when Githaga is here, that for me, that is completely unnecessary. Because Kenyans have actually accustomed to the fact that William Ruto will be lying. In fact, now the only thing that William Ruto seems to be doing that people believe he has said and is trying to leave is how to take Raila to AU. Because he's shown with action. And in fact, according to me, I just want to highlight something which is very clear again about that picture. Sorry to just drag it out.
Yes.
When you look at that picture, you now say that Raila has legitimized William Ruto as legitimate head of state of Kenya, because I'm sure now Raila Odinga has to call him His Excellency, the President, William Ruto. And I'm sure that's a clear confirmation.
Yes.
So according to me, those ones matters more than White House. Remember, first of all, White House has been one of the iconic places to visit. The Pope has visited White House, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't think the Pope has said I was the first Pope to visit White House. The Pope for Francis has gone to Japan to visit the war place, the Hiroshima place, isn't it? He didn't say I was the first Pope to visit the East. So some of these things are not necessary. But who was the president talking to? Who was his audience? Because any average educated person will take only 2 minutes to know that this is an extreme lie. When it's a lie and you're trying to elevate yourself, it makes more sense. And let me finish with an African quote. There's an African quote which says that the monkey that climbs the tree does what? Exposes the ass. So when you're trying, if you're a monkey and you try to climb up, people will see what they should not see. So by him trying to climb a tree, by saying he was the first African head of state to have gone to White House, now we can see more than we should have seen.
Can I read an introduction paragraph to the story that we did here? It reads like this, and this was done on August 6th of 2018 when Dr. President William Ruto was the deputy president. It said that President Donald J. Trump, now listen to the words, will welcome President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya to the White House on August 27th of 2018. Continues that Kenya is a vital partner of the United States, and President Trump, mark the words, looks forward to discussing ways to broaden the strategic partnership on our shared democratic values and mutual interests. Did he forget? Did he forget?
What he said?
Neil, did he forget?
No, listen, bro. The current president is doing his job. In the end of the day, he's only informing Kenyans.
Can you answer the question?
He's only informing Kenyans that he's going to the US.
Please answer me.
And by the way, that announcement did not come from the president's office. It came from the State Department in the US. No.
Just hold on.
Before Kenya, wait.
Before
Kenya
indulge us, please.
No, what I'm saying, wait.
Yes.
Let's give me time, bro.
Please, but you're not
trying to answer the first question.
You're not answering the question.
No, I'm answering. I'll come to that end of answering
please
you.
Answer it.
I'm just taking you the African way. What I'm trying to say.
Please.
No, please, give me a moment.
Please, kindly.
Give me a moment.
For the sake of just getting sport on.
No.
For the sake of getting sport on.
I'm trying to explain to you what William Samoei meant by that time and what it means today. He is the president today.
Hold on, he said it this weekend.
No, he's the president today.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So he was only informing Kenyans and telling them he's been invited to the US.
Can I read the statement again?
No, wait. And listen, the statement didn't come from him because you guys are trying to say...
It came from him.
No, wait. The statement didn't come from him initially. This is what I'm trying to say. The statement came from the US State Department. And they are the ones who announced, the assistant spokesperson,
come on,
Cohen or something.
And I'm going to read it.
Who announced.
I don't want to interrupt you.
He's the one who announced.
But I'm going to do it again.
No, he's the one who announced.
Regardless, Please, can you close your eyes to whatever came before?
Are you
this
saying
particular
that
statement? Yes.
William Ruto lied to Kenyans or something?
That's what I'm asking.
No, are you saying that?
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm asking you this morning.
So if you're not saying that,
yes,
that's why I'm giving you an answer.
Could you please, and ask you one question, that the president himself, verbatim, and we do have records on that, said that he's the only president who's been invited to the White House, African president, for over 20 years, isn't it? Do you agree with that, Gedai?
Yes, I agree.
So that's what I'm asking. Did he lie?
You see, the invitation of His Excellency,
yes,
Ruto, and that of Uhuru Kenyatta was different. This time round, this is a proper state visit. That was like a picture, like, they just went in the White House. Even it was so controversial, there was nothing much. This one, the president will actually spend days in the US with the other president. And there will be a new bilateral discussion. And there will be a lot of discussion.
So are you agreeing then that indeed is not the first African president to get an invitation to the White House?
No, but you see, this invitation is different from the one Uhuru got.
But then you're qualifying.
No, that's what I'm saying. You see, it's different.
You're qualifying the statement. Are you agreeing that he's not the first African president to get an invitation to the White House?
No, you see, every African, even Kibaki has been to the White House.
No,
what I'm saying, even Kibaki has been to the White House.
Gotten an invitation to the White House.
What you don't understand, please stop misquoting His Excellency the President.
By the way,
he said, and if you want to play that clip, play it again.
Does it?
The President is saying that, and he's not the one who said, it came from White House
No,
itself.
but the President, just for the sake of this conversation, the President actually did say himself. He said it.
Let me ask you, are we going to debate about what is he going or not? I mean, we're losing time discussing whether the president, I want to discuss, I would rather discuss about that trip and the significance.
Which is okay, because the statement this morning, just like we started with the show this morning, it's just about things that the president has said that make you wonder whether he's telling lies or he just wants to look important in this statement.
That's what I'm saying. You chose to put today's show with the word bombastic. Trying to say like our president is bombastic.
Inflated.
No, brother.
Yes.
He's not inflated. Everything that William Samoei Ruto Kenyans has promised you, he's delivering.
Just hold on.
The only thing is that we have a generation which we can call the noodles generation.
Do not run away.
Things
do not run away.
Instant. Yes. But what the president meant and what he said. And by the way, for me, I'll tell you this.
Yes.
And I'm sorry. William Samoei Ruto, and I'll go again and say, he's the best president Africa has today. And the reason why he's been invited to the White House is his consistency, is his policies, and his dedication to transformation of not just Kenya. Because even when the president of Kenya goes outside Africa or even in Africa, listen to what he talks about. He rallies for Africa. So the White House and I'm not trying to say like it's so important the White House is the best place to be.
But
all I'm saying is this.
His
Excellency William Samoei Ruto is able to balance between the West and East.
We're going to come to that. We're please going to come to that. And I'm not running away from the conversation. We're going to come back to that because there are other issues. Then we're going to qualify this importance of the visit because the president is the one who's making it important. And if you can, Sheila can talk to Shea producer just to get us a voice clip of the president essentially just putting importance on this particular. So the Gaiga can listen and then say, well,
people
didn't make it important.
The president
it's fine. It's on a,
and then making
Gaiga, it's okay. We're going to pull it up. Please, if you can, we can have it pulled up so that we can listen in and then essentially come back and talk about it. But then, Gaiga, since you've jumped in the next part of the conversation, then I would please come back to other issues as well that are essentially going to introduce us to our conversation this morning. That I've got Kenyans essentially questioning, well, is it a case of self-importance because you're putting yourself at the front of that issue when in reality it's not what it is? Now, the biggest issue that essentially got Kenyans talking last year is when we said we're going to privatize institutions in the country. When Kenyans asked why are we privatizing these institutions, can we go get the facts from the president?
Yes.
Now, and I'll read for you. and I'm reading from the notes of the president, that indeed, according to the president, KICC, KPC, and other institutions across the country were useless. We were losing a lot of money as Kenyans or taxpayers to these institutions. Now, let's start with privatization. But the Auditor General came back a year later, all right, just to put into context how much we're getting from KICC and KPC and the rest of them. Well, let's start with KICC. Ruto says that KICC annually just gave us 40 million shillings.
Yes.
Which, listening to him in that interview that he did at the White House with a couple of media stations across the country, which was a televised interview, it's a big loss. But you know what? When you look at KICC and look at the results, in the year 2022-2023, 956 million, almost a billion. You go back again to July to December, within a period when the president was essentially making this, the statements, they met 440.9 million. So almost 10 times what the president was claiming they were making in a year. We continue, KPC as well. The president says, well, I don't understand how this particular institution can only give us 200 million, 300 million a year. He's saying, well, on that basis alone, this guy's got to go. I mean, there's no need of the government losing money on it. But when you look at the audited results of a KPC, 7.5 billion in June, as of June 2023, 6.2 billion as of June 2022. So almost a billion in increased revenue within that particular period. Went on to say, well, we keep on hitting the president for making statements that are not correct. Postbank itself, he got it wrong again in terms of the numbers they were losing. He said they were losing 300 million shillings a day, but in reality, it's even worse. In a year, they're losing 1.4 billion shillings. The president put it at 1 billion a year. But if you take it back to what they're losing a day, it is 5.6 million shillings on a daily basis.
Simple.
So I asked the question then, bombastic, it's what we said again, bombastic, inflected, looks reality, but it's not. But then he says, I, as the president, can't sit down here and look at us lose this amount of money. Is it self-important? You're putting yourself in that issue when in reality you have no figures.
Last week,
yes,
I told you, and I will repeat to you now, that you need to understand who is William Ruto. William Ruto has got a big ego, what they call kiburi. The level of self-importance that he feels is on the roof. That's why he could not work with Uhuru Kenyatta, because he was saying that he was not being given the ego that he deserves. So even Uhuru Kenyatta cried in Bomas, live, I'm sure you heard those clips, when he said that, wewe sasa bana unachukua kijiti kabla zijakupa. You know the relay, they call about the 4x4 relay,
yes,
whereby you pass the baton to somebody to pick. So saying for you are taking the baton even before I hand over to you the baton. Just wait, we'll get there. But let me tell you one thing. This show for Lookuptv is starting to begin like an American show, where people discuss about who lied. Not for long in Kenya. Once you know you are a liar, we don't discuss it. We just leave you. You lie, isn't it? William Ruto is known to have misquoted the Bible. Misquoted the Bible by saying in Isaiah chapter this, he's saying this, but it's not true. Those are evidence. You guys have them in your clips, isn't it? William Ruto is known to have said in broad daylight that serikali yake itakwaya mama mboga na boda boda, which is not happening. William Ruto is known to have said he is going to give us a women vice president, which he didn't give. William Ruto is known to have said his cabinet will be more women than men. It didn't happen. We can count until the cows come home, isn't it? The truth of the matter is that the amount of lies that has come from this government is amazing. The reports that the president gives, look at the issue of the Hustler Fund. He has given numbers which don't exist. Remember, I have privileged information that the money he said that he has put 15 billion in Hustler Fund, there was no money the government put 15 billion in the Hustler Fund. I have all these numbers there. So you are still trying to tell me what he's trying to say. And if we go to the issue of parastatals, I've done a lot of studies for parastatals. I know how much money they earn. It's a total lie. The figures are much higher than even what the Auditor General is trying to say. privileged information. In fact, Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Airports Authority, those were some of the cash cows for the government of Kenya. In fact, to become even a chair of those boards, highly contentious. He even had to replace Uhuru's appointees, immediately took office, replaced them with his own. Look at all this parastatal. Just check how, do you know there's a time when the Gazette note was very busy, who is being fired, who is being replaced. There were so many complaints. He fired nearly everybody, replaced them with his cronies in all these parastatals. I myself, on the day we did the Linda Jami Marathon, I took up just a small part of KICC, which was, actually I was first of all given Savo Ballroom, which later he came and said he has to use it.
Yes.
Then I was given a tent outside. I paid 1.2 million shillings between 6 a.m.,
yes,
isn't it, and 12 midday. 1.2. And there were other places which were booked on the same day. There were like 6 events within KICC. I said it's impossible, those are the revenues.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say here...
Yes, Prof. I want you to hold your thought right there, because I'm going to come back from this break with you as we give Githaiga time.
Yeah.
But we're going to come back with that particular clip as you continue with your thoughts this morning.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other issues that are just bombastic statements, or the president's pushing his agenda into these particular issues. And those are the questions the majority of Kenyans are asking, to the point that now there are terms that are being coined against the president's at terms as well. We're going to come back and tell you what it is, all the way from, number one, the state of Kibra, the way it's looking currently because of the housing agenda. Number two, also, even state departments questioning why the president, or where the president is getting some of the declarations that he's making when it comes to speak to the public. Once we come back right here at Lookuptv, my name is Simba Laja Charles Kiaja. We are with a Prof. Ogola and Edward Githaiga talking about bombastic statements, or just a case of self-importance from the president. Once we come back.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution, or a university, and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Tuko hapa Kaptara, tunataka kusema asante sana Loto Foundation kwa mambo mazuri ambayo wameweza kutufanyia leo, wakaaji wa hapa Kaptara, wakaaji wa hapa Salawa, wakaaji wa hapa Mujukuo, mpaka wakaaji wote ambao wanatoka hapa Baringo County.
Naambia Loto Foundation asante kwa kazi nzuri wanayofanya. Mungu awabariki.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the Lotto Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
kabla tuingie tunakanyanga hii maji hapa. Tumeweka disinfectant ndio kama mtu ametoka na maugonjwa huko nje anaiacha hapa kabla ingie huko. Yes. Sasa hapa ndio vifaranga wanafika wakiwa siku day old. Hii structure inaitangwa brooder.
Yaani sijaijionea hivi. Kitu ya kwanza, kuku wa broiler wamewekwa kwenye nyasi. Hii ndio tunaita pasture raised chicken.
Na hiyo kuku tumeilea bila madawa sababu azola iko na immune properties za kutosha zenye zinawezesha kukinga na magonjwa.
Let me tell you, friends, I have just come from a meeting with the ambassador of the US. You know, and she came to tell me what you already know, that the president of the US has invited the president of Kenya for a state visit, one of a kind. In 20 years, no African president has had a state visit in the US. Let me say again that this country will go places. Kenya is going to be greater than what you see. And it is because we believe in the living God.
All right, that's what it is. Githaiga will be coming to you. So now you've had the statement, you're going to have a chance to qualify that particular statement. So, Prof, at the point where we're saying, well, there's some of these particular statements that we'll be looking at that are coming from the president. We were at that point of, even when he stands to speak to the media, a simple audit of the figures that the president normally has, just to put across his point, they are bombastic, inflated. Yes.
What I'm trying to say is that, according to me, you cannot get milk from a bowl. So you cannot get the truth from a liar. So we are just trying to waste time. We are just going round and round. And that's why we need to bring more of governance, leadership, transparency, accountability, and the rest. And let me tell you the danger of this all. You know, if you are a father in the house and you begin to lie, isn't it? Do you think that your wife also has to lie? If you lie to people that you guys are very rich, your wife has to pretend and lie. It goes to the children. So when a head of state is lying, it is cascaded with gravity. Because force of gravity comes from top down, isn't it? So now, all ministers in Kenya have to go out reading lies everywhere. Just listen to all ministers reading speeches everywhere. Because the lies are very infectious. They infect other people. So all the CSS have to lie now. All the PSS have to lie. All the State Department heads have to lie. If someone lies that he has been able to, for example, to put capitation in school, for example, he has increased capitation. Yet we know the evidence that capitation has moved from 22,000 shillings in secondary school to 16,000.
Yes.
And then you are saying you have added more money in capitation. The head teachers have to lie, isn't it? The principals have to lie. All the vice chancellors have to lie. So you are creating a nation of liars. In fact, Kenya is now scoring better over a nation of cheating, nation of lies, nation of drugs. All these things are coming from very top. Because who do we look? Remember, Simba, when I was growing up as a young boy, that's why my Swahili is not very good. Instead of studying, we used to listen to how Moi speaks English, because as a young boy, I believe that the best person in Swahili is the head of state. Because when you are growing up, you know, this is my president. Yes. We used to sing loyalty pledge. You pledge loyalty to the president and the nation of Kenya, all these things. Yes. So look at the head of state is a symbol of unity. And the head of state is a symbol of truth. It's a symbol of good governance.
Yes.
And that's why, for me, do you know in accounting, as an accounting, because I also know accounting, there's what you call the government is a going concern, meaning that whatever the government says, you can put to the bank. For example, when the president says that we are planting 15 billion trees, let me tell you how that is a lie. It is practically impossible to plant 15 billion trees in Kenya and Kenyans will be alive. Why? Do you know how many liters of water a tree drinks? If you plant 15 billion trees in Kenya, all human beings, animals, and birds will die because there will be no single water for anybody. In fact, Kenya being 586,000 square kilometer, can you try to put 15 billion trees inside that square kilometers? It's impossible. And that's why I even say Kalonzo must be an idiot. When I saw Kalonzo posting on his Twitter, I'm joining the president in planting 15 billion trees. If these are the kind of leaders we have, then Kenya is going nowhere. Because mathematically it's impossible. You will give me math during the break. How to plant 15 billion inside. Look at that. What happened later? Auditor General report has shown that more than 140 million shillings cannot be accounted for in the tree planting exercise. So what happens is that every time he makes those statements, he gives Auditor General the luxury to just go and confirm that it's a lie. Auditor General cannot be able to lie to Kenyans. So for me, the biggest challenge I have, and I want to mention this, now the lies of the president on how he's managing education system has gone to the education system. Look, KCSE results are not true. They are all lies. I have parents from Mombasa, Kisumu, Malindi, Kilifi, Lamu, Nairobi. In our WhatsApp group now, yes, we are going to do what's called a judicial review on the examination of Kenya. Because the results, how can 52.6% of students who start for KCSE get D and below? The mock results showed, for example, I give one school in Seranga, which is in Ugenya in Siaya. The average for the mock was 7.
Yes.
Isn't it? When they did KCSE, it moved to 9. A mock, people should do worse in mocks than the examination. I'm sure when you are in
St. Joseph's School,
St. Joseph's Rapogi, isn't it?
Yeah.
You saw that you did mock, you did worse, because mock should mock you. Then KCSE results should do you better. But this time, their average for the mock was 8. Then their average for examination, KCSE, was 4. And I have evidence this way, that every examination paper, you know, students normally pass using humanities, yes, isn't it? They are called boosters. So the chief examiners gave instruction that where there was a for example, question 6 is number 2 marks. They usually say, answer these 2 marks, isn't it? Yeah. There was instruction that do not give more than 1 mark in all these subjects where there was 2. Can you imagine where the marking scheme says 2, but they're being told don't give more than 1. So where a student should score 2, you give them what? 1. Which means we're supposed to score 1, you give them half. So history paper 1, history paper 2, agriculture, geography. If you look, just go and look, you can say Fred is a liar. Just look at the trend in all 2022 examinations in humanities. Compared to 2023, there's a significant drop in humanities because they were told that if you score these guys lower in humanities, you're going to fail the whole nation. Because maths, English, those technical subjects like chemistry, biology, people tend not to do very well. So if you moderate them, there will be no much impact. I'm sure you must have gotten 90-something in history, in geography. Like for me, I got 98%. Yes. So if you bring that number to half, isn't it? Which means 49. Do you know how much you hit my performance? So we are seeing that the lies of the president being cascaded in all ministries, in all state departments, in all parastatals, and in all spheres of government, including government services. Passport is a lie. You receive your passport convenience fee, e-citizen. The lie is perverse in healthcare, in education, in every sphere of economy. That's what I'm trying to say. The president should give us leadership in being honest and truth. If lying, and let me put something very important. It has been passed in this current government in court that saying lies in court is no longer illegal or criminal. Can you imagine that? How comes even the president has allowed that to happen? That now you can lie in court and it's not criminal to lie in court. That has been passed. For me, we are becoming a lying nation, a cheating nation. That's why this government is a proper overhaul. According to me, after you have lied, you should go home. Let's bring truth. Because without the truth, God cannot. In fact, the president kneeling before Benny, praying, and then tomorrow wakes up with a microphone and lies. As a Catholic, we are being told, when you go for confession, you should never have intention of committing sin. For example, if I have a date with a girl at 2 p.m. and I go for confession at 10, I should cancel the date before going for confession at 10 a.m. so that I do not go to confess to God that I will not sin again, because in the Catholic Church we talk about act of contrition. I will not sin again. I cannot be going for confession saying I will not sin again and my date is still live. It cannot be.
Pretty much. I'm just going to give you the same time that I given Prof as well, just to get his points across. But I want you to start them from qualifying that statement from the president.
Yes.
It says that, well, in 20 years' time, no African president has been given this state of a kind visit at the White House, all the way to you pointing out why the president then would give these statistics and figures that would essentially conflict what the auditor of what the auditor's reports would reflect. And then there's something that I also want you to add on it. I mean, if today you stood up and said, well, go to Kibra today, it will be looking like the West. It's a statement again that has come from the president, live on national television as well. Is it not okay for you to say, hey, Mr. President, could you kindly cool down, man? Because that's not the reality on the ground. Nation media, at the end of last year, did put that particular statement into contest, where the president told them and challenged them, go to Kibra today. Because of these housing issues that we're trying to build up, and also the funds that we're pushing into these particular areas, those areas will be looking like the West, and specifically Kibra itself. They challenged him, they went there, and they found a completely wrong picture. So I'm asking, is it bombastic? Yes, you might be doing something, but don't say it looks like the West.
No, you see, my brother, let's start by that state visit matter.
Yes.
What His Excellency meant, okay, is kind of misquoted, because he didn't mean Africa. I think it was a slip of the tongue.
Yes.
He was talking about Kenya. Because after fact-checking, like you did fact-checking, we've also done fact-checking. And we've seen that, first of all, what he meant is this. The last state visit we ever had in this country was 20 years ago. The last state visit to the US, a sitting president of Kenya, was 20 years ago. I can even give you the specific date. October 7th, 2003, when Mwai Kibaki went to the White House. There you go. That is what he meant. It's 20 years since the last state visit. What Uhuru Kenyatta has been going for is not state visits. It's here. I can quote it for you. It's not state visit. What Uhuru Kenyatta has been going for is he's gone for the General Assembly. Yeah, his first meeting was the United States Africa Leaders Summit. That was not a state visit. His second visit, and that was in 2014. His second visit was in 2015, working visit to attend Milken Institute conference in Los Angeles. In September 2015, he went for the General Assembly in New York. In August 2018, he went for an official working visit. Official working visit, not a state visit. So when His Excellency William Samoei Ruto said, when he was at the Benny Hinn, he meant Kenya, he didn't mean Africa. Because Africa, obviously, other presidents do have state visits. But he meant in Kenya, 20 years, no other president has been there. Secondly, why he said it's special is because, as the Secretary of State recognized, that it's the 60th ear of our diplomatic ties. That is why it is special. Like, it is special with what we have 60 years of China. We're celebrating our 60 years of independence. You understand? So it is so special that he's having this visit. So there is no lie there. He has not lied. You just didn't check your facts properly to see even you can slip of tongue while you're here on studio. That doesn't mean you lied. You can call me sometimes, you call me Eric. Sometimes you call me Anyango. But I'm trying to say sometimes you call me different names. But that doesn't mean you lie.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
No, but Eric, you call me Eric once.
No,
bro.
Edward, what are you saying?
No, let me continue.
Please.
Continue. Time.
Continue.
Sawa. You'll give me a chance to define what a lie is.
So what I'm trying to bring is this. Kenya has never had an optimistic, futuristic president like William Samoei Ruto. You know, it's also an art in psychology. You practice to speak what you want to achieve so that you can attract it. For example, if you want to win a race, it's a 100 meters race. You cannot go in that race like the way Ogola is saying. You'll go in that race knowing, determined that you're going to win that race, isn't it? If you lose that race, that doesn't mean you lied. Like a boxing match. You've seen two people fighting in a boxing match. One says, I'll knock you out, I'll hit you down, blah, blah, blah. But in the end of the day, when the last bell rings, one is a winner and one is not. That doesn't make them liars. It shows they're optimistic and they're positive about the future. And this is what Kenya needs.
What about the numbers?
Sorry?
What about the numbers?
Let me come to that.
Yes.
And I'll be very honest with Kenyans today.
Yes.
Let's start with KICC. KICC, if you really look, you're only reading parts of the Auditor General report. You're not reading how much money has been lost in KICC. You're not reading how much pending bills. How the former president's niece, Gashega, has been questioned severally on how the management of KICC for the 7 years that she was there. So William Ruto pointing out at KICC was part of the state capture. William, remember this fact. William Ruto has been fought by the former president. William Ruto, even when he was standing, he was being called Muizi, he'll not make it, he's a liar. This did not start today. This is a continued concerted effort by the former president, I believe myself personally.
Edward,
and that's, hold on.
Stick to the facts.
I'm sticking to the facts.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to show you,
yes.
You see, you guys are telling a lie so many times against Ruto. It seems like it's the truth. And I'm not the one who came up with that proverb. Once you tell a lie too many times, it turns out to be the truth and it's a lie. All the things William Ruto is doing,
yes,
as a president, he has to be optimistic. He has to be futuristic. Okay? He has to also encourage Kenyans to look at Kenya with a positive eye. Right now, the opposition, and I think Raila Odinga has left that bandwagon of Uhuru Kenyatta, who is not even, according to Ogola, is not even supporting the candidacy. Even yourself, you said, he's not supporting the candidacy of, what a hypocrite. This is the person we are blaming for all these shenanigans you're seeing, that when the president says this, Kenyans jump against him. Trust me or not, we will judge Ruto in 5 years, because now that is what we are going to say. Because that is a full term of president. No, look.
Yes.
He also pointed out that we cannot compare Ruto, who has been there for 1 year or 2 years, with someone who has been there for 10 years. Thank you. 10 years is the reason why the economy of Kenya is down. Ruto only took power 2 years ago, even less than 2 years ago. And everybody is blaming him for all the problems Kenya is having. Let me give you an example of what Mwai Kibaki did. When Mwai Kibaki came in after the devastation of our economy by the KANU regime, he added tax and he increased the tax bracket of the people who he was collecting tax. Don't you remember the superhighway? Don't you remember all those projects that Mwai Kibaki initiated? From 200 billion shillings of revenue that Kenya was collecting in 2002 to 900 billion in the first year. That 900 billion was not collected because people donated that money or it was a loan. It was the taxes that were collected. Now, the debt that Kenya had in 2003 was less than 1 trillion shillings, my friend. Is that right? 1.3 to be precise about. So, when Mzee Kibaki handed over power to His Excellency, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, the debt was 1.3. When Uhuru Kenyatta handed over power to William Samoei Ruto, the debt was 11 trillion. 11 times more than what it was. Kibaki served for 10 years. Moi served for 24 years. Uhuru's father served for 14 years. The 14 years, Kenya owed 1.3 trillion. But now, 10 years of Uhuru Kenyatta, we owe 11 trillion. Please give William Samoei Ruto a break. The man is doing his best. And despite the challenges that we're having, even today, you saw, we were given the green light by the financial institutions like World Bank and IMF and even those other institutions that Kenya has a clean record, that we were able even to get the Eurobond. If the president had not come with proper planning and was not paying the debts that are coming on time, then we would question him.
Yes.
But however, when it comes to performance, listen, brother, when somebody is giving a political speech, someone can have a slip of the tongue and say something this way or it meant this way, and it can be taken out of context, like I brought Kenyans to the real context when he meant 20 years. I hope you're in agreement with me. So just hold on. It's just like so right now where Kenya is, that's what we're supposed to be discussing, where Kenya is going. Not this story of Ruto is bombastic, because those are just cheap propaganda. But they're not. No, I can tell you. Listen to me. So I was going back to the KICC, the parastatals. That's it. So of course there was state capture. Listen to me. Let me tell you.
So we pointed out, and we still have all your time. Yes. My question is, nobody is challenging the performance of President Dr. William Ruto. I mean, this is not the top that we're having here, that we're challenging his performance.
No, you see, when you say he's a liar, what do you mean? A liar? You can't say a liar is performing.
What we're challenging is some of the statements that is making as it tries to push this agenda for performance. That's what I'm saying. Just when the Auditor General and the Office of the Control of Budget come in and tell you that your president got it wrong on 1, 2, 3, 4.
Like which one?
On this area for privatization, the amount of money that KICC is making, the amount of money that just hold on, the amount of money that KPC is making.
Yes.
The amount of money that Post Bank, just hold on, the Post Bank is losing. Yes. That when the president speaks to me as a journalist, I am supposed to write that down as information that has come from the presidency. Why would I sit and hear the president tell me that KC is only bringing 40 million, that KPC, just hold on, that KPC is bringing only 200 million, when in reality, the financial figures that are audited from a constitutional office show different. Am I not? And in this context of conversation is that we have to privatize this one.
You see, what he meant, let's first separate KPC. Let's bring KICC. You see, KICC made 950 something million.
956 to be precise.
I have those facts.
From July to December, they made 450.
This year, when Ruto has been in power, listen to me.
As it's July to December.
Yes. Ruto has been in power. He came in August. Does it? Isn't it? So when Ruto has been in power, there's been an increase. Wait, hold on a minute, brother. What he's trying to point out is this: you can make that money, but you're not saving any of that money. Listen to me.
So bombastic.
So
bombastic.
No, don't misquote the president. Yes. He wasn't talking about the financial year of 2022-2023. He was saying during the state capture year of Ogola's friend, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. Yes. That is when we were seeing loss of funds,
which is 2022-2023.
In fact, I want to quote the president of Kenya, who stated that we were losing 2 billion every day. Listen. 2 billion shillings under Uhuru Kenyatta. If you calculate 2 billion shillings per day, that is 720 billion per year. So half of the budget of Uhuru Kenyatta was being stolen. And this is what You know, the media, obviously, because it still has a hangover from the past. Nation media, Standard media. Oh, you know, they were the ones supporting Azimio. They have not woken up and smelled the coffee like Raila Amolo Odinga. They are still in the past. Let me tell you, and I'll sum up by saying this. William Samoei Ruto is performing. William Samoei Ruto, listen, there is no lies William Samoei Ruto has told. Like I've told you this, when somebody is going for a race, everybody beats his chest and say, I'm going to be the champion.
Indulge this morning, please. Indulge us this morning. Yes. When my president tells me, visit Kibra today, you're going to see a complete different picture, that it looks like the West.
Yes.
How am I supposed to take that statement?
You know what he's trying to say? You know what he's trying to say?
No, what has he said, Githaiga?
Kibra is the biggest slum in Africa.
Yes.
However, he didn't say the whole of Kibra. He meant the side where they are doing the housing. Listen to me. You see, when you travel on Ruaka Road, when you're going to Ruaka, you see two rivers, right? You see all those malls, right? It looks like America. Because they're high-rise buildings. So now, if you go to Kibra, your party Kibra, you in a jengwa, the houses, listen to me, bro. Just give me a moment. No, you see, Kibra is too big.
But when you make, you see, you're trying to qualify a statement that the president didn't qualify.
Now, what you do, let me tell you, you know what you're doing wrong as a media. Let me tell you, indulge me. You just said indulge.
Let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. Whose responsibility is it to qualify the statements that, just hold on, that come from the presidency?
The spokesman. And also, wait.
They've never come to qualify them.
Listen to me. Just watch the global systems, how they work in America.
No, let's talk about
hold on a minute. Yes. Please, give me a chance. You know, you're not giving me a chance. You've asked that question. Who qualifies those statements? When the media has a press release or a press meeting, a press briefing by Mohammed Hussein, right? Or by Mwaura, who is the spokesperson. Those are the people they need to put those questions. You see, like me, I've done my research and I've pointed out to you where exactly you guys are misquoting the president. So what I'm saying is this. The people who are responsible, once the president speaks something, you don't go and question him. You question the spokesperson and quantify or qualify whether this is what he meant.
Has said, isn't it?
Exactly.
How wrong is that? How wrong is that?
Listen.
How wrong is that?
It is so pathetic.
How wrong is that, Githaiga?
It is so pathetic
that every time
that we can have a headline.
Githaiga, please. That every time then that the president would speak, even when he spoke in Naivasha, what you're trying to say is that no, don't listen to that.
Brother.
Go ask the government.
No, you're not understanding me. The reason why we are discussing this matter today, because it's one or two issues that have been raised that you're not satisfied.
And countless times.
Listen, you're not satisfied with it. But what I'm trying to point out is this.
Prof, I'm going to come to you.
What I'm trying to point out is this. It is very unpatriotic. It is very uncalled for the continued negative publicity against the president that the media is currently running, trying to show our president, who is our symbol of unity, as being a liar. Let me tell you, Ruto, even when he spoke at Benihin, you're only choosing the things that you can sell news stories, the things that will bring headlines that will sell news stories. But let me tell you, Kenyans, don't listen to the noise. Look at the actions. And the actions that William Samoei Ruto is undertaking is that, number one, he's now sitting down with Raila Odinga and they are working together. This is what we expect us as Kenyans to focus on. Not this propaganda of when the president says he's going to do something and perhaps because of something doesn't happen at the right time, people call him a liar. That is wrong. The president is the symbol of unity. When he goes to Djibouti, they give him a standing ovation. When he goes to South Africa, they give him a standing ovation. Right now, the US president has invited him. And Uhuru was never invited for a state visit. They have invited William Samoei Ruto. Now they are making up stories. They don't look at the positive things. William Samoei Ruto, my advice to you, keep your focus. And I know you're going to win.
Prof, for the sake of pointing this conversation in the right direction as well, but Githaiga keeps on saying that we really do not have the numbers. Like every time the president speaks, then you have to go and qualify those statements, whether indeed they are true or not. Let me just point you to the latest one. The biggest push for this government in terms of youth employment and seeking for employment is that there's an agenda now. The majority of Kenyans are getting fronted outside the country to go look for jobs. Now, I'm going to point you one. And we did that particular summary on these particular ones. Now, just this year alone, when the president was in Bungoma, he said that he had negotiated 5,000 jobs for youth in Qatar. I'm going to continue. When he was in Kisumu, this year alone, he said he had negotiated 40,000 jobs for youth in Germany. Yes. I'll continue. Then he said that before the end of the year, he's gonna make sure that he has 10,000 jobs for youth in Canada. Continues then. Went to Addis. You do remember. Stands up in front of the stage and is given a chance to speak about how we African presidents should be approaching our continent. This is what he said, and I'm going to quote him verbatim.
Kindly.
He said that as an African continent, we must turn our land into opportunities for our youth and create jobs for them. That there's this push now to make Africa the place for the African youth. That we must turn it into a fortress for the African youth. But when you ask him about his biggest agenda for the youth on this particular perspective, when he's down here, it's completely different. He wants majority of them out of the country.
Simba.
Is that a lie?
Simba, I will repeat this statement again. The only consistent thing about the president is inconsistency. There's logic. I'm a logician. Being a philosopher, I'm a logician. Logic doesn't work with President William Ruto. So let's give the following statement. First, it is clear that either the president is a liar or he doesn't know history. So you can choose which one you are comfortable with, because history is not vindicating his statements. Mwai Kibaki was invited for a state visit in 2003. That's a fact. We know. I see Kibaki in a bow tie with our former First Lady, may her soul rest in peace, in a very nice dress, where people say that was Lucy Kibaki's best image in the world. They were invited to White House in 2003. That is on record. State visit. About Uhuru Kenyatta, I'm here to get evidence because I'm a professor. I cannot lie like the president. Another thing you have to understand about the president, which is also very clear, is that the president is more thinking that Kenyans are still not at the level of education that actually we are. He is underestimating the level of information, technology, digital disruption, where I was a professor. When you teach nowadays, you are not the one who owns information. Actually, data, information you don't own. You guide a discussion in a class. So the president needs to guide the nation. The president has to understand that we cannot rule people now, but we can govern. There's a difference between ruling and governing. You know, there's a time when you're a teacher and you only have one textbook and you're the only one with the access to information from the textbook. That's how we were studying in the 1990s and the 1980s. With the year 2000, the millennium years, nowadays, if you say that in marketing you teach about the 5 Ps, students know about the 11 Ps. So they can tell you other Ps of marketing. So the president has to understand that Kenya has advanced thanks to Mwai Kibaki, who came with free primary education. Even sometimes my grandmother, very old people nowadays, has access to information, which you cannot just say you have monopoly of ideas. You cannot have monopoly of information. But also let us take time to understand one thing. What is a lie? Because sometimes we're trying to say he's lying, but maybe he's not lying because the definition is not clear. To lie, to give untrue statement with intention to deceive. Intention must be there. As a Catholic, a sin must be to do a wrong activity, but you must have intention. And that's why in law, if you are caught to have killed somebody, if you had intention to kill them, that's murder. But if you had no intention to kill them, but they died through your activity, it's called manslaughter. So you must have intention that I wonder this person died. For example, if you hit somebody with a stone, but maybe you are just throwing the stone at something else, then you hit somebody, you have still committed, you have killed somebody, but it's not murder now, it's manslaughter. So, and I want to say this because I'm also a scholar and I must be open. We cannot read the intention of the president, because if we know his intention was to mislead the nation, that is the first one, then actually he is lying. But if it's because he has no information about history, then we can forgive him. Then I take you back to 2022. When Raila was campaigning, people told Raila, don't tell us about history. In fact, the Kenya Kwanza camp did not want history because history did not favor them.
Yes.
So they say, don't talk about history. Tell us we're going forward. And I think maybe these people have carried the incompetence of the campaign back to the execution, whereby we are still saying history does not matter, so we don't want to go to facts. And William Ruto has to know that Auditor General will audit all those statements, and Kenyans are auditing them on WhatsApp, on social media and everything else. Then also, let's forgive the president. Simba, I don't know where you grew up. Did you grow up in Kisii?
Part of my life, eh? Yeah.
I grew up in Ugenya. I was born there. The day you heard that you are coming to Nairobi, did you sleep?
No.
Let's assume that your aunt invited you to Nairobi, and you have never gone to Nairobi. Do you know that if you are coming to Nairobi after 10 months, you will not sleep for 10 months? Even the villagers will use this against. For example, mother can say, if you don't go to the garden, you want to go to Nairobi. Your aunt will say, if you don't go bring for me water from the borehole, you cannot go to Nairobi. So at the moment, the president should have just, I think the president could, maybe he's just too excited with this state visit. That's why he has to say, let me tell you what you already know. If they know, why are you telling them? So I'm sure that the president is excited. I'm sure at the moment there's a lot of shopping going on in State House. Maybe they are trying to look for which kind of dress. Will he go in the counter suits? Will he change the suits? Will he have a bow tie? Remember when the king came, the president did not take the counter, but he was in a bow tie. What will Mama Rachel put on? Is she going with all the first family? There's a lot of discussion. I'm sure that there is nothing happening in Kenya now about executing the president's manifesto, because now what is important is preparing to go for this state visit, because it seems this is the most important thing he has achieved for Kenya. Because if there's anything Kenya Kwanza has scored, maybe it is going to White House as a state visit, because this is very important to them. He has forgotten that he told the Kenyan that he's a hustler, and he's really leading the hustlers. He's leading Boda Boda. I do not know how many Boda Bodas, Mama Mbogas are accompanying him to state visit. I do not know. If at all the president was honest, you can see from his manifesto to the end, Githaga should not be able to mislead you here. Facts are stubborn, and facts do not forgive people. Facts are very rude. If I am Fred Ogola and I'm black, I can't change that fact. Let me just take it and move on with it. And I'm sure that that's what he has to know. And I've told you before, lies are very infectious. Actually, he has infected my brother here. That's why my brother cannot say the truth. Because if your boss is lying, to say the truth, you disagree with your boss. So I've been corporate. For example, I used to work in Strathmore. If your boss lies that Strathmore is doing very well on this angle, and now you're the one meeting students, talk to them, what do you do? Either you keep quiet or you lie. But being Fred Ogola, I used to say the truth. No longer, that explains why I'm no longer in Strathmore, because I cannot lie. Because, for example, remember there's a day we promised students that whenever we land in Barcelona, we give them what's called welcome dinner and closing dinner. When I arrived there, the guy in charge of finance told me, no, you cannot give them 2 dinners, give them 1. I told them, they'll get 2 dinners, if not, I resign. So students were given 2 dinners anyway, because Fred Ogola is not the guy who will change his mind. If you give a promise, a man and a woman is as good as they keep their word. So what is my advice to the president? There are some things that don't help you. You know, the president normally feels compelled to say certain things, you don't have to say them. In fact, if you feel compelled to say certain things which are not necessary, what if he didn't say it? What could have happened? And when he says that it's not true, the president should just do, I told you, the one thing. Choose what you can do, talk about it. Kibaki took education as his pet project, and he talked about it. He ensured that he was checking whether it's happening. What is William Ruto's pet project? Let's go to the housing. There's a child that dies here in Kogalo Bridge in Kibera. So that made me walk and comb through Kibera. There's a construction site going on in Kibera. We're being told that it has employed, housing levy has employed 120,000 people. Mm-hmm. Now, if you go to that site, you discover that totally, I only saw 2 people who are just picking some wood and something like that. I was in Voi, in Taita Taveta. I did the same thing I saw. I was in Eldoret on Sunday, on Saturday and Sunday. I went to Eldoret. I asked all the people who sell construction materials, I asked all those people who are working in the construction sector, contractors, asked them, how much of your cement has been bought? How much of your wood, timber, how much of your iron sheets have been bought? They say actually they are suffering. In fact, I want to feel with people at Eldoret, in fact, if you are seen to be on the other side of the government, you don't get tenders in the whole of the county of Washington Gishu. Even all government tenders don't get. And I want to call on the local leaders. We are not supposed to be having these things called Kenya Kwanza government. In fact, Simba, I want to call upon you in the media. Let us not call this government Kenya Kwanza government. This is the government of Kenya. You know, when you call it Kenya Kwanza government, you make this government look to belong to individuals. You make this government start to belong to William Ruto and the guys, the so-called shareholders. In the US, we have the government of America. That's why the Twitter handle for the head of state is called Porters, at Porters, isn't it? If you check it now, immediately you leave office, yes, you hand over that Twitter handle to the next head of state. It's not yours. But here in Kenya, the official Twitter handle belongs to William Ruto. That is the president's Twitter handle. We don't have the presidency's Twitter handle. I want to tell Hussein Mohammed right now.
We have one for State House.
State House is a different story. Even if you have one for White House. I want to ask Hussein Mohammed right now, create a Twitter handle for the President of the Republic of Kenya. And it is a public resource, a public asset that should be used for official communication of the presidency. You know, the presidency is not belonging to anybody. In fact, let us give William Ruto his Twitter handle to lie as much as he wants with it. But the official Twitter handle for the presidency should remain saying the truth. So we shall be checking between State House, yes, William Ruto's Twitter handle, and that one of the president of Kenya, where is the truth? Because this is where we are missing the thing. Remember, when His Excellency, former President Jomo Kenyatta, we never talked about KANU government. We just talked about government of Kenya. GOK was official ways. In fact, the communication was GOK. In fact, KBC was even called GOK, isn't it? Where did the GOK go? In fact, the Twitter handle should be called GOK, communicating. Let us not personalize things. In fact, William Ruto is lying because he talks like William Ruto doesn't talk like the president. He has to distinguish the personality of the president and the presidency.
Pretty much.
So Benny Hill conference was not a state function. You don't use a prayer meeting to make statements. In fact, this should be distinguished. In fact, the mistake he's making, he's confusing his functions for being functions of the state. And that's why Kenya Kwanza is using state resources to do their private functions because they are called Kenya Kwanza government. Kenya Kwanza is a party, is an alliance. Those are political events. So if you don't separate political events from state events, then you tend to use state resources, yes, for your political or private activities. And in fact, that's what I'm trying to say now. I also felt disappointed seeing Kalonzo in Benny Hill's prayer. In fact, Ruto took advantage to take a photo with him, which is now circulating. So if Raila is with Museveni and William Ruto in Kisozi, isn't it? Now, William Ruto is with Kalonzo in Benny Hill's prayer meeting. Those people should just understand that there should be a distinction. There should be a distinction between opposition, and let no one know opposition is dead. Yes. The spirit is here. In fact, I'm ready to take the mantle in case there's anybody doubting that Kalonzo will do. I'll take the mantle. Pretty much. But what I'm trying to say here, yes, these are very important statements I'm trying to make here, that we need to separate what the state is from what political parties are, from what individuals are. Trump had his own Twitter handle. But POTUS remained a Twitter handle for the country. Let William Ruto has his own Twitter handle,
yes,
but let us also have GOK, or if you like, the President of Kenya,
yes,
Twitter handle. Separate these things to see where the lie is. And most importantly, you do not have to lie if you have short memory. The president is not good in history, he's a botanist, and that's why he's trying to apply the botanical philosophy into communication. It's not working. To lie, you must be very good in memory. At the same time, I'm asking those around the president, isn't it? Please, be careful about what the president says. And to give excuses that we should not blame the president for making wrong statements because we should blame the spokesperson, I think that's not true. The spokesperson, called Mwaura, is my friend. He lies all the time in his Twitter. All the press is just lying. It has become infectious. In fact, if you look at all the Kenya Kwanza ministers, CSS and PSS, they begin to talk like William Ruto. Some of them are now dressing in counter like him. So he is infecting the country with the lies, isn't it? And with his personality, you should just be the head of state, end, period. Don't have to infect other people with your characters and manners or your ways of talking.
Pretty much. I'll be coming to you, Prof, for your closing sentiments. Here's the thing. Let's start ending this conversation then, Githega. Let me just give you 3 minutes before I take your closing statements as well. Has been an issue of officials versus the president's statements. And I will start. At the onset of El Nino last year, if you do remember, the Met Department boss was interviewed right here in one of the local stations, and he said, well, I do not understand where your president got those remarks about the disappearing of El Nino from, and when it's going to start. What we do know very well is that we advised the state that we were indeed getting into El Nino. President comes up, it's again at a public rally, televised, and says, in fact, we thank God, those El Nino rains that were supposed to come, they have already told me that they're not going to be here anymore, so we'll continue living as we continue. And you remember the whole conversation of where the money was released, where the money was, essentially is what led to the conversation of, was somebody getting misadvised somewhere? Number two, one of his advisors, economic advisors, was David Indi. One time, when the majority of Kenyans were getting asked, you guys tell us one thing and do the other. What's really going on? And this is what David Indi said. I will not be party to, now listen, defend or take collective responsibility for corruption, lies, taking the public for fools and vomiting on people's shoes. Essentially responding to a myriad of statements that came when they realized that the entire conversation had changed from paying more taxes to reduction of taxes, which was the biggest. Just hold on, because I'm picking this out of context as well. Like officials versus the president. So who's likely to lie when it becomes what you said versus what the president said?
No, you see, there was no lie, even with the El Nino. You see, because the president gets his information from different sources.
Does it?
Even meteorological intelligence, global meteorological. And even at that time, there was the El Ninos had reduced. Let's just be honest, bro. Wait, hold on.
I'm not cutting you short. Yes. I'm not cutting you short. This was the president versus the Met boss.
No, you're
and
not.
They said,
and Gachagua came and put everything right, if you remember. Gachagua responded to that question. You understand? About the El Nino, and the story ended there. There was no lie, but the president is advised by different people. When the president spoke, he didn't go to speak about the El Nino. It wasn't come I tell you the state of El Nino. No, it was a by the way statement.
I am advised
by
those guys.
Exactly. By those guys.
Give me the updates that El Nino is done.
Exactly.
And the guys say no.
That's what I'm saying, brother.
And the guys say no.
If you listen to my statement, I'm saying even the African Meteorological Department had shown a reduction.
Do not misquote them.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm also protecting you. I'm also protecting you this morning. I really want to protect you. I really want to protect you. And I do remember I followed that statement and I did that story.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
How many weeks? It only rained 1.5 to 2 weeks after
regardless of
that
the time. Regardless of the time.
Wait, let me just explain.
Hold on.
You know the weather changes often. And there is climate change.
The Met Department was clear that we advised them.
And that
Please,
person,
I'm also
no,
protecting you today.
he came again in the media and refuted that.
Which
the meteorological?
No,
yes, he did.
No.
Yes.
No. Like, I'm also protecting you.
Anyway,
please.
you see,
yes,
you're saying
also,
I don't need your protection.
I'm protecting you because then when you're speaking about these issues, the only information that you find online about that entire debacle for El Nino is the Met Department both saying, I do not understand where you're getting this. We were clear from the get-go that the country was going to receive high to increased levels of rainfall.
However,
they never recanted.
Let me explain to you, brother.
Yes.
Let me explain.
Yes.
And all Kenyans, kindly, don't follow these stories at El Nino. At that week, the week before that announcement of Ruto, there was no rain in the whole country. There was no rain.
So who told Ruto?
No, look, there was no rain. So
who told him to come in and say that it's not going to be there?
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Ruto also is a firm believer in God. And obviously, all of us were praying that El Nino goes away. Nobody wanted El Nino. Even Ruto didn't want it. So he was just calling upon God and for us to just hope that El Nino doesn't come back. But you see, even though it came back for 2 weeks, it then disappeared. We were being told, even today, the Met was saying, brother, the same Met you're talking about, was saying El Nino will go all the way to April.
That doesn't mean that you don't listen to them.
Yes, listen. Wait, that's what I'm saying.
That doesn't mean that you don't listen to them.
Give me a moment.
That means that when they tell you that, you take that as a
yes,
fact.
but even them themselves, they change from one statement to another. They had said, hold on, let me just explain. They had told the president that El Nino will be until May. But then they said, they looked at their weather forecast and they said, no. In fact, the El Nino is reducing and it's ending. So even the last stint of El Nino, the 2 weeks of the last stint of El Nino happened because it happened.
I want to protect
but
you.
the president did not lie to any Kenyan.
You know, I want to protect you. That statement doesn't appear anywhere from the Met Department.
I can get it for you next week because we don't have time. But I remember Deputy President was firm on that matter.
In 1 minute.
And in fact, we also want to recognize Governor Sakaja for the great job he did for Nairobi. Because Nairobi were always full of floods during a heavy rains, but this time round, Sakaja, kudos and your team for the Green Army. Anyway, the other thing that we're talking about here is I want to correct my brother. What William Ruto is doing is partnering with the religious institutions, which has not happened before. Number one, religious institutions carry almost like 80% of all Kenyans. Every Kenyan belongs to one religion or another. And 80% of their time, they're in that religion. So when you want to partner, even for development, even for progress, like for example, the religious institutions do a lot of work for social empowerment. What is wrong with the government of Kenya partnering with the religious institutions? There's nothing wrong. Even when a crusade comes in Kenya, it's called Heal the Nation. There's nothing wrong with that. And every first lady has their own agendas. And if Mama Rachel Ruto is the one who invited Benny Hinn to Kenya, kudos to her. Because you can see even the impact, what prayer does to a nation. Already after the prayers, what did we see next? Raila Amolo Odinga and Ruto together after the prayers. So we thank Mama Rachel for those prayers because they are helping Kenya already. The other thing I want to talk about.
30 seconds, please.
Affordable housing projects are going on. Kenyans, when he said go to Kibera, it will be like the Western countries if he's given the opportunity. If the cartels that are in the real estate industry can leave him alone and let him construct houses for Kenyans. Secondly, value addition, agro-processing, manufacturing, digital jobs, export. His Excellency the President is doing everything in his power to ensure that the economy of Kenya stabilizes, that the economy of Kenya grows to the level it's supposed to grow. And the matter of jobs, he's not trying to say, like the statement where he made at the AU, what he was telling the AU, and you always misquoting, you need to repeat that statement again. What he meant is this: as we move into the future, because you can't change anything in a day. All right, we're still going to depend on people going abroad. But what he was saying, let us have a paradigm shift. Instead of our people jumping into ships to migrate to countries and dying in between, that is what he was against. All right? So if we have decent professional migration, that is allowed. Even here in Kenya, we have expatriates working from those Western countries, earning a salary in Kenya. So there is nothing wrong for Kenyans working abroad, my brother Professor. So he was not out of bound by saying that, and he was not two-sided.
Yes.
He has a plan for Kenya.
Yes.
And he will not stop planning for Kenya, and he will implement for Kenya.
That's it, Githaiga.
Yes.
We are clear at that point. Just want to read this statement again to you, Prof. Githaiga, even as we step out of the studio. Prof, I'll give you 45 seconds as we step out as well. This is an interview that was essentially a statement that came from the Kenya Meteorological Department Director, Dr. David Gikungu. If you do remember, when there was an entire debate about why the president had downscaled that particular communication. Now, the introduction to this, and we did this story right here, was that the Kenya Meteorological Department has apologized for the, miscommunication on El Nino rains weeks after President William Ruto downscaled the alert. Just hold on. I'm going to read it again. That they did apologize after President William Ruto.
And I told you.
Downscaled. Just hold on.
Yes.
Just speaking on Friday, that's almost 4 months ago, Kenya Met boss Gikungu stated there was a miscommunication in the process of disseminating the alert on the rains. But I'm going to continue.
Thank you.
Now listen. No.
Exonerated.
No, hold on. I'm going to continue. Continues to say the miscommunication came in the timely delivery of these alerts, but continues to explain that indeed the department had advised the government the country was getting into El Nino rains earlier on. So
earlier on.
That's it.
Like
that's it.
Earlier December.
Good. I'm going to continue. However, he said that the communication from the president was not advised from their department.
Exactly. And that's before even he talks about it, listen, why were you harassing me on this show when I was trying to tell you, listen, I told you myself, I'm not the one who read, sorry, Professor Ogola.
Yes, it confirms it.
What I am saying is this, I said on this show that William Ruto gets his source of information from different people. And there you have it.
From who?
Listen. There's the Africa Meteorological. There's many other sources of information.
But all of them are pointing out to the existence of a
No.
Please, can we
Then he would not have said that.
Let me give 45 seconds. 45 seconds, Prof. We gotta step out.
You see, the problem we have in Kenya is that the Kenya Kwanza government want to be in all talk shows. They want to be on all headlines, but that is not how a government works. If they are always in the news, when do they work? Because no one works in the media house. The president looks like he's working in the media house. They are on top of cars, they are on funerals, they are in barazas. The lives are from one point of the angle to the rest. But there's something that saddens me that I have to say.
Yes.
Let me talk about Kevin Kiptum.
Yes.
I don't like the fact that anything Kenya Kwanza does, they must be in the media. Kiptum's widow, I feel for her and the children. You know, when someone builds for you a house and they put the house in the media, no one in Kenya who has access to social media doesn't know the location of their house, doesn't know how the house looks like. You can even predict how you can enter in it. I've been told it has been constructed to look like a kitchen inn or KFC sort of structure. I think that is exposing that family too much. I'm sure that no one has actually shown the real structure of State House, how it looks like and how it can enter and live. I think that we should be sensitive because that actually exposes a family. I remember when I was campaigning in Ugenya, there's one person who was campaigning in Ugenya I did not like. If they paid a coffin from your funeral, they have to come and take a photo with the whole of your family plus the coffin plus the hash they brought, so that even people in the US knows who has paid for your coffin and for your hash. I think these things that when you help somebody, it must come in the public domain and so clear with knowing who has helped who is not fair.
Yes.
It could have been nice that the government had a way to build a house for Kiptum's family, to respect the family, to respect the community. There was a better way to do it. So I'm trying to pick these things whereby the Kenya Kwanza is so media happy. They want to be the media all the time, but because they don't have something substantive they're doing, so they're under pressure to bring likes to the media. Tell them that they can sit back, just do their work, and do not have to the media every day. I'm sure long gone are the days that when you don't see the president, the media looks like he's sick or dead. You know, when Moi was a president,
Yes.
he had already aged.
20 seconds, Prof.
So it was important that he has to show he's in the media every day. William Ruto is young, so we know he's not going to die. Let him just go work for Kenyans. And then what happens that this is being now copied by all the other ministers in government, CSS, PSS. Let us just stay away. Then when I now bring the issue of the young people, let me tell you the truth. That the president do not care about you because the cabinet has not even met the requirement of the 5% of the young people in the cabinet. The government of Kenya has not obeyed it. So when someone tells you that the future is for you, just know the same way Boda Boda and Mamaga were cheated, you'll be cheated too. Do this. Learn technology. Opportunities are going to come. The Solomonic economic model which we are launching is very clear on how young people can create jobs and move forward.
Pretty much.
5 seconds.
Yes.
Yes, we've come to a moment where we also want to say that on the Haitian thing, very fast. We will be, Africa for Haiti is having a launch for Africa for Haiti at the USIU at the end of the Black History Month at the USIU. And the Prime Minister of Haiti is in town. So, you know, those issues we used to talk about Haiti, you can see everything is coming up to level. And we thank the president for this opportunity that he's given us.
Pretty much. Gentlemen. It's come to an end this morning, isn't it? Well, Gadaiga, Prof, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to host you guys around here. Take them back online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Is it lies or a case of self-importance? We've handled it. Whatever you make out of it, talk to us online and Lookuptv across all at Amatkia Gesimba on X. Guess what? Tomorrow is a good time again to try this. Goodbye.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700-893-542 or send us an email to info@lookuptv.co.ke.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered